Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the second day of the General Assembly of Europe's Rail. This day is quite particular because it's a public day, and also it is my honor to introduce to you the Director General of DG Move, that Magda Kopczyńska, that will also provide a good insight of what are our future priorities and also where we need to look at in the coming years and also for our work. And before diving into this and diving into this alpha day of session of report on the activities of Europe's Rail, I would like to mention to all the participants that the video will be recorded, the session will be recorded. Therefore, if you have an issue with these, please don't hesitate to let us know in the chat. Otherwise, the video will be started to be recorded. So you should also have questions. You can ask them through the chat function, and we will also answer in that. Having said so, Magda, thank you again for being here with us, and I leave you the floor.
Giorgio, thank you so much. Thank you for this introduction. Thank you for reminding also me that this part is being recorded. That means I need to be triple careful, because whatever I will say, you can always go back to that and remind me in 6 months that on the 22nd of November, in day 2 of the General Assembly of EU Rail, I said XYZ. So I promise I will be careful, but not too much. But thank you so much for giving me the opportunity, and thank you also for the format of this General Assembly. It's good to see such a good crowd connected. We all have learned to use the benefits of digitalization. This is actually also what EU Rail is about. But it is also this important element which I think is guiding us so often when it comes to European policies, the question of openness, of transparency, and making sure that we do talk to everybody who wants to listen to what we have to say. So my very warm welcome, not just to members of the joint undertaking, but also those who are not members of the JU, but who are carrying crucial work within JU-funded projects. And big thanks from my side for helping us to implement the joint undertaking master plan and ultimately deliver on our ambitions. Giorgio, you said in your intro that I will talk a little bit about the future. Let me start with the organizational future. If everything goes as planned, second von der Leyen Commission will be starting on the 1st of December, pending positive vote in the European Parliament next week. And if you have followed discussions, documents, guidelines, and mission letters, I hope you have taken note that decarbonizing transport does remain a priority, but competitiveness, efficiency, and resilience of European industries join sustainability as political priorities. I'll talk more about that also at the end of my speech. And when it comes to rail perfectly fits all of those objectives. It has strong sustainability credentials and huge potential also to boost competitiveness. And I don't need to look further than the 2 very well noted reports of recent months. Letta report highlights how fragmented markets and infrastructure prevent the creation of a true single European railway area, and calls for an extension to the high-speed rail network so that it becomes a pillar of the fair, green and digital transition, in case somebody had doubts that rail matters. And then looking to the Draghi report, which echoes exactly that approach, outlining how, and here I quote, a lack of EU-level planning for transport competitiveness is preventing Europe from capitalizing on multimodal transport as a means to lower carbon emissions. And if I now look from the top level of the Commission to the almost top level of the Commission, Commissioner designate for Transport and Tourism, Apostolos Tzitzikostas, has very clear mandate to work on rail on the basis of the mission letter, and he does have clearly high expectations for rail. So I'm not worried that we will not have enough topics and discussions and initiatives that will be linked to rail. And if I were to list a few of them, I will start with the one which is probably the most I don't want to say important, but the one which is the basis for everything else that we are doing, and that's the completion of the 243,000 kilometers of trans-European transport network by the agreed deadlines. And those agreed deadlines are as important as the length of the network. That will be linked to money, but they will also be linked to organization. Looking specifically at rail, Commissioner Tzitzikostas said in his opening statement in the European Parliament during his hearing and also in his replies to questions that he intends to present a plan next year to connect EU capitals and large cities by high-speed rail and that's very important, also to improve rail connectivity in general so that no region is left behind. It echoes letter report, but it is also clearly written black on white in his mission letter that is one of the priorities. Connections must be affordable, they must be convenient, they must be reliable, so that more citizens and businesses choose to use rail. And then giving access to a full range of tickets for European train journeys is one of the elements needed to attract more passengers. And for that reason, the single digital booking and ticketing regulation mentioned first in the political priorities of President von der Leyen in July and then echoed again in the mission letter of Commissioner Tzitzikostas will be another element that we will be very busy working on. I mentioned multimodal a couple of minutes ago, and I do hope that you agree that we do need, while we work on rail, we do need more synergy with road transport. We need more interoperability and cross-border connections. We need more high speed, more market opening, more investment, and more competitiveness and competition among industrial suppliers. But rail also needs to continue being innovative at every level. Digital technologies, including artificial intelligence, will offer huge efficiency gains, and we need to work to make sure that that happens in the right way. And we also need to innovate in an industrial manner with economies of scale. We absolutely have to address the question of the costs of rail, including of innovation in rail, often driven by market fragmentation and by customization. And many of you will know best that this is a huge issue still. And then we need to use innovation to reduce those costs. And this question of costs will really be high on everybody's agenda, because unless we have a way to deal with that, we will not see sufficiently quick take-up of innovative solutions that Europe Rail Joint Undertaking is working on. When it comes to digitalization, automated traffic management, full deployment of ERTMS and automated train operations can increase the capacity of today's infrastructure by 15% or more. And if you think back to what I mentioned as probably our biggest, most important challenge, the completion of 10T network, it's not only about building new tracks, it's also about making sure that we use the infrastructure, including rail infrastructure, as efficiently as possible, because we simply don't have enough money to build new infrastructure as quickly as it's needed. We have those digital innovations that I mentioned, but you know it best, they are still not rolled out everywhere. We are working with member states, we are pushing member states to do it, but I also count on you to keep delivering innovations and digital solutions even faster, so that we can cut this time to market and we can start using really standardized or off-the-shelf technologies where possible, because this is really one element that I'm hearing from member states that they perceive as a hurdle before all those new and sometimes not so new digital technologies can be really deployed at a larger scale. I did mention money, and I know that everybody sooner or later comes to the question of money. So just to recall to all of us that one important, if not the most important task ahead of this new commission that will take office on the 1st of December will be to prepare the next financial framework for the EU, multi-annual financial framework, that should be presented by the Commission around mid-2025. This new budget will include budget for research and innovation. And of course, I will not tell you much about the details, but I will recall, because I think it's worth remembering, what President von der Leyen said in her political guidelines when it comes to the principles that she would like to see enshrined or integrated in the next budget. It has to be a policy-based budget and not program-based. It has to allow us to align better with EU priorities and objectives and target with flexibility those areas where EU action is needed most. We shouldn't deceive ourselves. We are not looking at a hugely bigger budget for the 7 years starting in 2028. So we have to be really careful where those priorities are and how we are gonna go about financing them. But at the same time, the budget has to work in a simpler manner, possibly fewer programs, and also better way of working with every country to make sure that investment is linked with reforms. It has to, again, look at we have to look with member states at our joint priorities, such as economic, social, and territorial cohesion. We are still discussing in the Commission, and trust me, we really are, how to manage that challenge to make sure that member states have proper involvement in constructing that budget, in engaging with regions in member states, but at the same time, that money spent at national level are really in line with overarching and agreed political priorities for the Union, because that is also important. Those horizontal cross-cutting political priorities, they are not falling from the sky. They are a result of many discussions at many levels in different council formations. And finally, the budget needs to be more impactful. European Competitiveness Fund is one of the instruments that is mentioned by the President in the political guidelines. And the idea is to have a better connection between different parts of budget and programs currently there, so that they can better support and leverage what we need to do in the EU in the area of competitiveness. And again, we should not forget that now more than ever, when we talk about EU budget, we are not only thinking in terms of public money, European money that will be available, but also how we're going to use EU budget to better leverage national, private, and institutional financing that is available. As I said, more details will come on the table mid-2025, but I very much hope that we will be having many discussions with many of you on what needs to be at the back of our heads when this new budget is being drafted. And of course, one thing that I cannot tell you is what will be the final shape and idea for partnerships like Europe Rail joint undertaking, but I hope you have noted with the strong focus on rail that there is a political agreement that we need to embark on this long-term project to transform our rail system. And fortunately, with this transformation involving innovation, digitalization, new solutions, we are not starting from zero. We will be building on the achievements of the shift to rail. We are now moving forward with what is there in the digital catalog of solutions that pave the way for Europe's rail. And I am very happy that many of these solutions were already showcased at InnoTrans in September. I believe that the system pillar, complete with a modern train using full ETCS level 2, not to forget different national parameters, but identical operation rules, would be as it was, a big success. And I very much hope that what we are trying to do to test new solutions, including test trays for digital automatic couplers, will allow us to build, again, an even bigger basket of solutions that needs to be deployed to make sure that rail does what we want rail to do efficiently, connecting European citizens and businesses in an affordable and well-functioning way. And I know that the joint undertaking deployment group is building on the work already done on, for example, digital automatic coupler, to have a good analysis of deployment issues that are ahead of us. But here I would like to mention one more element, and I promise I'm almost at the end of my remarks. I would like to mention one element which first depends on all of the above. Second, is important for all of the above. And finally, figures very strongly in the political guidelines of the president and in the mission letter, not just of Commissioner for Transport and Tourism, but of many others. I already hinted at it, but I think I really wanted to close my speech with mentioning global competitiveness of our industries. Clean Industrial Deal will be one of the first major policy communications that will be presented by the new college. Transport companies across all modes are still global leaders in the relevant areas. 2 days ago, I had an opportunity to meet representatives of EU transport manufacturing companies in the margins of EU-ASEAN transport dialogue in Kuala Lumpur. And it is reassuring to see that you continue to grow your presence in markets worldwide. Now it really comes down to EU regulators, starting with the Commission, but also with Member States and with the European Parliament, to look at the framework of instruments that we have in place or that we need to put in place that will support your position by creating truly level playing field and fair competition, by allowing you to grow in the EU and beyond. And this is exactly what the Clean Industrial Deal will be about. And that's why I really wanted to finish my speech here by bringing your attention to this important political document that we are now working on in the Commission. So to sum up, I do look forward to seeing the results of new promising Europe's rail projects, and ultimately to the impact on planning and operational management of rail services and on the overall standing of rail companies in the EU. We need to continue linking fundamental research, applied research, large-scale demonstrations and deployment, and I am quite sure that we'll have many opportunities to discuss and to see what is still missing or needed in mid to long-term perspective to make sure that all that can happen. Europe's rail has resources to do all that and to drive the transformation of rail so that it is, as I said, more efficient, more flexible, more reliable, and more accessible. It's a huge opportunity for all of us, and I very much hope that you're as excited as I am at the prospects of embarking on that journey. Thank you so much, and have very good discussions for the rest of the morning. Thank you, Giorgio, and back to you.
Thank you very much, Magda, for your inspiring work. We are for sure excited of making sure that we can answer to those policy challenges. And for sure, we are here ready to make the system more cost-effective, standardized, and ultimately deployable. And for those of you online that are discovering Europe's rail, should you not have understood it yet, it's a public-private partnership between the European Union and the rail sector, and we're here to deliver impact. And we're really policy-driven, making sure that we can implement a single European rail area for its citizens and cargo. Magda already said it. We have the budget. It's 1.2 billion euros that we're managing in terms of research and innovation activities around the three main pillars. The innovation pillars, that is delivering flagship and exploratory research project. And you will hear today from my colleagues in a moment, Léa Patiès, Sébastien Denis, and Javier Ibanez, Senior Program Manager in Europe's Rail. They will show to you the 2024 results on this program. And then the second pillar, it is the system pillar. And my colleague Ian Collon, head of the system pillar, will also introduce to you the results on how do we standardize the interfaces, but also how we're looking to harmonize the operational solutions that Europe's rail is developing in the future rail system. And Ian also will be accompanied by the system pillar core group that will be presenting as well. And then the third and last pillar that also Magda already mentioned is the deployment group. The deployment group is providing recommendation on how we can implement those solutions in a cost-effective way and how we can make it also in a coordinated manner across Europe to really make the system evolving as a network, because this is what it is in Europe. And my colleague Karen Valgil, seconded national expert in Europe's rail, will also present those insights together with Javier Ibanez on the digital automatic coupler. And so with this, I will hand over to my colleagues the different presentation. I will share in a moment the screen. And I think there is also a comment online. And before diving into it, if Magda is still with us, there is a question for you. Yes.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. I see the comment. I mean, let's happy to see with CINEA how it can be organized. But I would be grateful if you could also, maybe not necessarily in the chat because I will need to run away, but maybe in a message explain a bit the context in which you think it would be good to have that meeting. But I'm always open to meetings with a caveat that calendars are not easy. But happy to hear more. Please drop an email either to me or to Giorgio, and then he will pass that message to me, and I'll discuss how to best respond to it.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Magda. So I don't see any more questions. So what I would suggest, Miroslav, please.
Thank you, Giorgio. I have the response to Magda. Many thanks for your very interesting and important speech, opening the eyes for future to our community. And this is extremely a good opportunity for me to ask you if you will be able to join our meeting in February, either in person here in Brussels or remotely. If yes, we can prepare as the SRG, States Representatives Group, some priority topics which we would like to discuss with you openly and transparently, because it's a great motivation for the SRG members if we have this opportunity to meeting you either physically or remotely only. That's if you can answer, if you are able to respond to our invitation or welcome to our meeting. Thank you so much, Magda, for your great effort and very challenging speech for the future.
Giorgio, I cannot not respond to Miroslav, but maybe just a request to everybody. Let's not make that meeting into you asking me whether I can come to one or another meeting. Miroslav, I have absolutely no possibility to say yes or no to you about a meeting in February. But as always, please send a message directly and I will check. My agenda is basically busy until June, and I'm not. I really have to see. But I fully understand and I appreciate your words that for the State Representatives Group, it would be a good opportunity to meet with me, but I'm not able at this moment to promise anything. But thank you so much. And again, drop me a message. We'll have a look and I'll let you know whether what's possible and what's not possible. And really, please, Giorgio, over to you, because I think there are important things that should be first presented and then discussed in that meeting, much more than availability of me for meetings. as exciting as it is. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Magda, for your availability and also answer. It is clear that it is obvious that everybody is excited also from your welcoming word, and I think I see it as a good and positive vibe that now we need to accelerate and making sure also that we show to Magda and everyone else in Europe that we are delivering. And this is also what it is about today. Today, it's also about bringing visibility of our outputs and continuing in delivering for Europe and in Europe. So with this, I jump directly into the presentation, and I give the floor to my colleague, Léa Patiès.
Thank you very much, Giorgio. Good morning, everyone. I am Léa Patiès, Senior Program Manager overseeing the work of FA1 and FA2, and I will start with a presentation on flagship projects, plural, and you will understand why in a few minutes. Number one, if you can go to the next slide and the one after. I will give you a bit of update about FP1 Motional. This is the first flagship projects implementing flagship area 1, part of the first wave of flagship projects that we launched 2 years ago. FP1 Motional is addressing 4 key areas. As a reminder, the capacity management aspects, so railway planning, the traffic management system related to railway operations. It is also addressing the integration of railway services with other transport modes. It's just been mentioned a few minutes ago that this is an important aspect as well to take into consideration. And last but not least, FP1 Motional is also implementing the first phase of the transversal topic. So all the digital enablers, and I will come back into that in a few seconds. So what has the project been up to since I last reported last year? If you could go to the next slide, please. The next slide is showing a very high-level view of the different phases of the project, phases that are very much engineering-based, so there is no surprises there. A year ago, I was reporting that the project was finalizing the specification phase. So we had the ramp-up in beginning of 2023, leading to a lot of alignment between FP1, the system pillar, the other flagship projects on the different areas, and concluding with the end or the final steps of the specification phase. 2024, the focus was put obviously on starting the development. Because we are expecting already quite high TRL demonstrations up to TRL 6 already by the end of FP1 Motional in a year and a half. So this was the focus of this year, starting to develop the different technical solutions, starting to dig into the prototyping and making sure that the demonstration phase that is pivotal can take place next year without any major issues. If you go to the next slide, obviously there is a lot of things ongoing in the project, and I cannot report on every tiny detail, but it is worth to mention that for subgroup 1 and subgroup 2, which are capacity management and traffic management, they are ending developments at TRL 4, so they are already, if not yet, in a few weeks will be completing already lab testing whenever applicable for different technical enablers. So on the side of capacity management, we're talking about development related to integration and planning system, as well as planning processes. As we know that the capacity management, the railway planning is dealing with a lot of processes. Theirs is also focus on the decision and support optimization, as well as simulation models for rail traffic, as well as feedback loop from operation. And this is where the link with what you can see on the right side comes into play, the link with the actual operation, so the traffic management, where we can see focus put on the traffic management integration. So two TMSs, two different TMS talking to each other, addressing the resilience and efficiency of the overall system, the operational feedback, I just mentioned it, as well as the link with ATO. In a few minutes, I will address it in FP2, but there is an obvious link between traffic management and ATO, and this is also addressed. In both cases, there is, I've mentioned before, a close collaboration with the system pillar, as well as a close cooperation with RailNet Europe. And this will also continue next year, and this was a fruitful collaboration in 2024. Next slide. The last two subgroups, so we've mentioned the integration of railway services with other modes, that addresses the integration of rail with other transport modes, business to platform, as well as the standardization of different interfaces. We're talking about services to the passenger, obviously, and different aspects in this specific area, as well as the anticipation of demand and the improving the resources utilization. Last but not least, I've mentioned transversal topics, digital enablers are implemented, in FP1 Motional. One of the key development here, and if you were at InnoTrans this year, and if you visited the Europe's Rail or the EU stand, you might have seen a demonstration for the federated data space. So the sandbox has been up and running for a while now, but different use cases are being added to it. The architecture has been developed, and the progress have been quite phenomenal in this aspects. To be continued next year, and of course we will also have to discuss and jointly agree at sector level how to ensure the uptake of the data space in the railway sector. Also to mention very quickly, digital twin as well. There is a sandbox environment that has been specified, and collaboration with the other FPs is ongoing, as well as the work on the data model and format that is also continuing and progressing inside the project. Next slide, a very quick summary of what you could have seen in Berlin. In September, FP1 Motional presented 4 different demonstrations in different areas. So if you had the chance to be there, I hope you've enjoyed them and managed to discuss with the members. And the work will continue on this basis. This is it for FP1 Motional. If you could go to the next slide. Yeah, and the one after. I've mentioned at the very beginning, I've said flagship project 1, because we don't have 6 FPs now, we have 7 flagship projects ongoing. Travel-wise has been officially launched in October of this year, so obviously I will not report on any type of first results yet. This will come next year, but if you remember last year we reported that we were doing a synergy call with CESA JU, the JU dealing with air traffic management, and this is the outcome of this call for proposal. And we are very excited to be in the lead for the management of this project at E-Rail. So if you go to the 2 slides ahead, so that I focus on the content, please. One more, and perfect, thank you. So the objectives of TravelWise, we are looking, or we want them to look at, to be more specific, at integration of air traffic management and rail traffic management. So we expect several type of key deliverables and deliveries from this project in order to see how the two systems and the two modes can ensure an alignment in order to ensure as smooth as possible travel from point A to point B using two different transport modes. The consortium includes members from both JUs as well as different research centers and universities active in both transport mode. We expect demonstrations in key European airports as well as train station in order to test the different solutions that TravelWise will develop. The focus is put on nominal situations, so when everything goes well on the day-to-day, as well as handling disruptions and handling the impact of a disruption in one mode to the other. So we expect first deliveries next year, and we will report on the first results in 1 year time. But it was important to flag that this project is now alive and up and running. Thank you. I guess I continue with flagship project number 2.
Yes, Leah, and we have for everybody, please put your question in the chat. At the end of the presentation of the innovation pillar, we will answer to the questions.
Okay, thank you. Flagship project number 2, R2DATO, FP2 R2DATO, is dealing with automation and advancements in the field of signaling. If you could go to the next slide. It's also part of the first wave of flagship projects launched 2 years ago. There are again a lot of technical enablers, and I will not enter into the details of each work package. However, it's important in order to frame the areas addressed by this project to mention the 6 clusters. We have automation processes, optimized headway, enabling digital technologies, fast and effective deployment, innovative operational solutions, and the demonstrators, as the high TRL demonstration is also a focus in FP2 R2DATO. We could go to the next slide. You can go to the next one, and I will enter directly into the details. So, cluster number 1 is automation processes. So this deals with ATO, grade of automation 3, 4, and all the related, let's say, components. Obviously, the more we progress with automation, the more additional functions we need, like perception system and so on. So this cluster includes the development in this area. If you were at InnoTrans in Berlin on the first day, you might have attended the flagship demonstration we had on the Tuesday during that week, which was the remote operation of a tram. So if you were not aware, we had a tram standing in a depot in Oslo with the partners Porveien, and the remote control system was standing on our stand in Berlin, and we had a remote operation of a tram. So this was a key demonstrator in September, and this is one of the main achievements of this cluster in terms of tangible results. And if you are interested, there is a video up on our website that you can have a look at. Also worth mentioning the integration of TCMS into this cluster. So this was a discussion last year, or earlier this year, sorry, about the need to continue some of the development on the train control and monitoring system. So this will integrate little by little the work of this cluster. Overall, specification phase is coming to an end. That will allow the development of the prototypes and the testing in the second half of the project, which is starting in a few weeks. Cluster 2, optimize headway. that includes ETCS level 2 with a trackside detection, hybrid level 3, train positioning, and so on. On the train positioning side, there's quite a lot of development. The usual engineering development, I will say, regarding the requirements and the specification phase. Several demonstrators are standing in line in order to be to come to life in next year. Here, I would like to focus on the cooperation that E-Rail and FP2R2 have with external stakeholders. There is a parallel ad hoc project called EGNOS for Rail that has been launched last year together with EUSPA, so the European Union Agency for the Space Program, as well as with the European Space Agency, ESA, in order to work specifically on dedicated service for the augmentation for the use in the railway sector. So there's quite a lot of work ongoing there. Preliminary version of the rail system and service have been delivered by EUSPA and ESA, and the work is continuing, and we are hopeful at least that the first wave of demonstration will tell us whether or not we're going in the right direction and whether or not additional development on the side of the space sector are needed in order for rail to use EGNOS as a way to ensure the signal for train positioning. Hybrid level 3 and moving block specifications are ongoing. They work on the basis of different releases with different testing going in different waves. So this is ongoing, and there are no major issues right now. It's obviously a key contender as well for future TSI integration and a possible impact on the ETCS specifications. Next slide, thank you. Cluster 3, enabling digital technologies. So we have here, as per usual, requirements and specification work ongoing for the modular platform, as well as for the onboard communication network. Worth mentioning here a link for the onboard communication network with as well the FRMCS developments that are happening for the moment outside of E-Rail, but we expect some synergies happening next year on this topic. Cluster 4. The fast and effective deployment. Obviously, we're not just here to work on paper as well as to develop prototype. The idea is also to make sure that those new functions and new technologies are deployable and can make it to the market in a relatively short timeline. So business work on business case is ongoing, obviously on the basis of the solutions that are being developed. So there are some tight links that have been established between this cluster and the others. There's also work on virtual certification. So we are obviously continuing and delivering on the results that were made available by Shift2Rail in this field in order to support the certification and later on the authorization process. Next slide. Last two clusters. Cluster 5, innovative operational solution. So this is the cluster that includes work on the starting base was on slightly lower TRL. So we are talking about autonomous route setting. So use case list and concept have been defined. The virtual coupling is still at the agenda. So an architecture and interfaces where have been agreed, and the work will continue. If you were also at InnoTrans, there was a very interesting demo on the stand of one of the FP2 partner and on this topic. And the last bullet point is the technology development of short-range communication and relative localization. So those this cluster is looking at slightly more disruptive solutions and different functions, and they will continue the work in 2025. Last but not least, demonstrators, obviously, like I said, and this is the case for all of the FPs, we are looking at high TRL. There is a cluster dealing with all the demonstrations that are expected to be happening in FP2 at Tudeto, to test the different functions in different, for the integration in different type of running stock, as well as testing in different operational environments. I've mentioned the remote tram demonstrator in Oslo, but work will continue for regional lines and main line until the end of this phase 1 of these flagship projects. And with this last word, this is it for me. Thank you very much for the attention.
Thank you very much, Leah. And let's dive in with Flagship Project 3. Again, if you have questions, please put them in the chat. Sébastien.
Yep. Thank you, Giorgio. So, Sébastien Denis, Senior Program Manager, overseeing Flagship Project 3, 4, and exploratory research. And I will start straight away with FP3. So, basically, FP3 have 3 main objectives. So, the first one is the development of intelligent asset management system in order to move toward prescriptive and predictive maintenance for many assets. The second one is the development of automated intervention and robotics for maintenance execution and construction. And finally, a third area on the development of sustainable assets. So these 3 areas have the same goal, basically to reduce maintenance costs, to extend service life, but also to improve RAMs and the production of more resilient and sustainable assets. So the work in FP3 is developed under 80 plus independent use cases that we can cluster in 5 areas. So the first one on the wayside monitoring and TMS link. Second one, all the assets, the onboard assets, the rolling stock assets. The third one for the infrastructure asset. The 4 sub-project is associated to all the use cases that are using digital twins as a preliminary tool for asset management. And finally, what is linked to environment, user and worker-friendly railway assets. Okay, so if we move to the next slide. Okay, so here we have a graphical representation of where these use cases could be implemented. I will not go into the details, but it's also important to keep in mind that the approach for all these use cases are following somehow the same idea. So basically, an heuristic and integrating approach, taking into account not only maintenance aspect, but also financial ones and the overall system performance. The tools to use that are indeed the artificial intelligence possibility, digital twins, etc., to collaborate, to propose advanced decision-making opportunity, and as I said before, toward cost-effective solutions and obviously improving RAMs and safety. If we move to the next slide. So here I will come into the details of the 2024 achievement. Obviously, as we are talking about 18 independent use cases, it's not possible to go into the details of each of them. So I will try to summarize somehow the main achievement of all this project. So for the first one, the ones that are linked to the wayside monitoring and TSM links, it's important to mention that the preliminary installation of the 2 use cases have been done and the data collection has started. Okay, so these 2 use cases are somehow a cluster of different assets that are monitored with the intention to integrate the asset management with the TMS. So obviously, this is the work that is done in collaboration with FP1. In regards of the achievement of SP2, so for the rolling stock asset management, so here, for most of the use cases, the data acquisition has started. Okay, so we have here 2 types of, I would say, different technology. The one that are embedded to the onboard elements, such as the brakes, the HVAC, etc., and the one that are using wayside solution. And among that, it's important to mention the progress on the European checkpoint that is done in collaboration with FP5 regarding the freight traffic. Next slide. Okay, so here, the infrastructure asset management, this is the area where I would say that have the largest number of use cases. So there is a sub-cluster that is associated to long-term asset management, so mainly for bridges and tunnel. And it's good to say that there are four types, of decision support systems that are currently under development, okay, for this case. And I picked two use case progress. So one on intelligent sleepers for track infrastructure monitoring that have been installed on tracks. So the project is starting, I would say, the collection of data. And the second one is saying all the elements for tunnel inspection field campaigns are ready to start in 2025. So here as well, good progress on this aspect. On the subsystem 4, so the railway digital twins. So here we have good, I would say, progress and a first important step with the completion of a BIM model, okay, that's containing data and that will be needed to populate the asset management information system and to have finally an efficient digital twin. So good progress on that, but also on some other areas such as the vertical certification work with the completion of the requirements. Next slide. And should be the final area. So here we have been working quite intensively on the green tracks and turnouts work, so with the design of these products, but also regarding the repair. So good progress been done on the additive manufacturing material, okay, and also development of a digital warehouse. Regarding the robotic platform, so it's good to say that now all the, I would say, the platform are ready for field test campaign, even though some of them are really progress in this area. So I think it's good to remember what has been presented in the trans regarding the TMS track bots that were presented as part of our innovation tour. And finally, the I would say the work on the exoskeleton, but also the augmented reality tools are also progressing well, and it will be at the end of the project that will be in position to report impact and also final results. Okay, so it looks like indeed, well, for most of the use cases at the phase of collecting data, it should not prevent, and we do not have to overlook the effort that are made in order to reach this, I would say, this phase. So meaning all the specification and the use case definition, the selection of the sensor, the installation of the sensor, etc. So there have been quite a lot of work that has been done by this midterm of the project in order to prepare, I would say, the data processing and finally have the real impact and measurement of the results of all these use cases. Okay. Before moving to FP4, I just would like to take the opportunity to mention that next week in Paris, there will be the midterm event of the project. So I think there's still the possibility to reach it online. So if it's not the case, please feel free to do. Okay, thank you. I will move now to flagship project number 4. You can go directly to the next slide. So the overall objective of FP4, this is basically to provide innovative solution for running stock, infrastructure, and station to minimize, I would say, the overall energy consumption and environmental impact of the railway system, but also for passenger trains transportation, have healthier, more attractive, and also more resilient solutions. Okay. So here as well, the work is developed based on independent use cases. So here we have 38 demonstrations that are foreseen at the end of the project that have been clustered into 6 areas. So the first one is regarding all the traction use cases. So basically all the works related to battery passenger trains and also hydrogen traction solution. The second one more linked to infrastructure and station solutions, so very much linked to energy solution, but improved energy solution, but also sustainable station. The number 3 is linked to I would say it's not linked to use cases, but more the transversal work that is done on sustainability and the resilience of the railway system. The fourth one is more all the, I would say, enhanced components for, I would say, get rid of air pipes. So basically the work done on electromechanical components, but also improved subsystem for the rolling stock. And we have the two last sub-project on the healthier and safe rail system and train attractiveness. Okay, so if we move to the next slide, so we have a quick, I would say, a similar representation. So just to say that indeed we have infrastructure use case and on the right side, the rolling stock use case. And as I said, on the top, we have the project, the sub-project number 3. So taking into account research on energy management, adaptation to climate change, circular economy, and noise and vibration that is a bit transversal to all these topics. To report the progress of the 2024, so we're now in midterm event, so it is on the next slide. Okay, thank you. So on the alternative to diesel energy solution for rolling stock, so on the area of battery solution, but to say that currently the project is undergoing tests on energy storage systems. Okay, so in laboratory test, and also there is a preparation of the demonstration for the 3 demonstrators on battery electronic unit with the prototype assembly and the definition on traction components, of next generation traction components. For some of them, for example, based on the results of Shift to Rail with the use of silicon carbide technology for the power converter. Okay. The good results that can already be, I would say, reported here. This is the confirmation based on the actual results that the initial target of having autonomy of 200 kilometers for these demonstrators is currently still foreseen. So that's quite a positive result to be reported. Regarding the work on the hydrogen storage technology, so there is a research done on high pressure tank, and the project is currently assessing 2 types of materials for these high pressure tanks, and the results are currently under comparison. On the second sub-project on energy in rail infrastructure and station, so good to report the work on the refueling station. So with the first interface model between the vehicle and the stations that have been defined. So this work has been done in collaboration with FP6, but also based on the lesson learned those 2 previous European projects. On the smart grid demo, I think it's worth to mention that 1 pilot is already ready to be presented. It's in an urban pilot in Rotterdam that is somehow based on energy storage solution in order to address energy peak challenges. So with this technology, basically you'll be in position to increase the capacity of the traffic at peak hour without having the need to add traditional substation that is costly and that is taking place. So it's a real achievement in this regard. Finally, I think it's good to mention as well the work that is reported on energy storage solution for the AC railway grid. Next slide. So SP3 on the sustainability and resilience of the railway system. So among the four areas that are covered, I will just say a word on the adaptation to climate change. So to say that vulnerability studies have been performed for all railway assets, so rolling stock, infrastructure, and station, and methodology guidance have been also I would say developed and still need to be adapted. And this is the good step to pave the way to the final objective of this work package, naming I would say a full and structural risk assessment to be done regarding climate change, and also a recommendation for update of standard to take into account the climate change. Okay, the second area, so this is basically the good progress on noise and vibration. So here there's different areas that have been done with preliminary results on screening noise studies, but also the assessment of the impact of alternative ballasts, so the neo ballast for track and to reduce the vibration emission. On the SP4, the electromechanical components and the system for the rolling stock. But there is a general good progress, I would say, in terms of simulation, but also laboratory tests on several use cases. For example, the pantograph, the brakes subsystem, in order to prepare the on-board and the on-field demonstration. Simulation has been completed for the optimized bogie monitor gearbox. And finally, software tool development for the virtual aerodynamic certification that is foreseen in this sub-project. Next slide. Okay, thank you. So on the healthier and safe rail system, so here there are two areas, so one related to the rolling stock and the other one on the stations. So here to say that there have been different simulation done for the airflow management for the passenger cars, and also several filters to improve the air quality has been also tested and validated to be embedded in trains. For the air quality in tunnels, so here as well, so low cost sensors are currently under, I would say, assessment and through a measurement campaign in Ireland. Finally, for FP4, this is the current, I would say, results on train attractiveness. So with the studies that are currently performed on the interior, so taking into account, I would say, circular economy, recycling components, etc. So for seats, but also research on quick fasteners and wireless power comfort equipment. So the studies are ongoing, and also other studies for the interior vehicle design that are supported by a biomimicry approach. So this is it for FP4 and the, I would say, midterm results. Thank you.
Thank you, Sébastien. So I give directly the floor to Javier.
Hello, good morning. Hope you can hear me well. Yep. Good. Well, I'm Javier Bañez. Thank you very much for being with us this morning. And I'm going to be presenting to you the activities and the outcome of the progress of work within FP5, FP6, and also the activities in FA7. As you can see here in the first slide, and as you may already know, FP5 Transformer is its overall goal is, of course, to establish rail freight as the backbone of low emission and resilient European logistics change that will fulfill the end users' requirements satisfaction. But for that, we are working in two specific focus areas. The first one is the full digital freight train operations, named FDFTO, and the seamless rail freight activities with the link with the activities being performed in the first work stream. We are trying to, of course, validate the activities of FP5 technologies, namely the DAC, as you will see later on. And of course, integrated this with an aligned cross-sector approach when we are talking about optimizing operations for freight. The digital automatic coupler, as you may already know, is the enabler or the central enabler of this project, but with the integration of these software-defined systems and the digital rail services for the operations that the DAC will be make it functional. The intention is, of course, to increase and maximize the flexibility and the reliability of the rail freight services with the targets of making responding to these customer demands, as mentioned before. with the linked benefits that you can imagine. In the next slide, you can see that the activities within, well, you can first see the updated time plan of the project. This has been revised during these first 2 years of the project. So the new finishing date of the project would be December 2026. And within these 2 first years of the project, we are at the moment halfway of the activities of the project. We have delivered already quite a substantial work in relation to these activities on workstream 1 on the full digital freight train operations, namely the work carried out, the tough work and extensive work carried out in providing these preliminary operational procedures and the system requirements specifications for the FDFTO and the user requirements for the full digital freight train operations specifications. In coordination also with FP1, some of these high-level specifications and requirements have been also considered within the activities of these full digital train functions. And of course, also internally, while developing the standardized solution of that is the final outcome of these activities. The activities would have the goal of providing this standardized operational and safe functioning of this digital automatic coupler that at the end would meet the requirements defined initially. So that's why at the beginning of the project and for the definition of these requirements, the time to make them stable has taken time, but also we are within the scope of FP5 is also to provide these public deliverables that are having an affection on, at the end, on operational aspects within the sector, to share those results together with the relevant stakeholders in the forums we have allocated or we have organized for that, namely EDDP and the sounding board that will be later on explained in the other later on today. But also focusing on these activities within a workstream 1 year. We continue with this just to mention a few of the other activities that have been already performed, requirements on specifications for the yard automation. So in order to improve these activities on the marshalling yards, the techs that are currently going on with not only DAC level 4, but also DAC level 5, and of course the functional requirements and specifications of these train functions. This project is focusing at the moment in the basic package that was endorsed by the EDDP. So at the beginning, also for you to know, the activities or the functions to be considered were a bit wider, but this has been based on the endorsement of the EDDP, grouped into the basic package. I mean, a different set of functions that will be enabled by the DAC by the project finishing. So, and if we go now to the work stream 2, and in order to enable these operations in a seamless way, the colleagues involved in those activities have already made the analysis of the status quo of these requirements. So this alignment is, of course, also aligned with the input coming from other FPs, as mentioned before. They have also been providing the KPI requirements for these activities in order to have the harmonized list of processes and based on this rail CDM approach. So in that sense, the evolution of the CMS data model is continuously being adapted and aligned with the activities performed within workstream 2. I wanted to finish the slides for FP5 by showing you some of the activities where the project has been very active. The project has also, as you may know, has a testing lab in Berlin, Spandau. And in that sense, and taking advantage of the InnoTrans events, we had a presentation in the testing lab where all these DAC functionalities, operational concepts, and most importantly, showing how the testings are working was shown to a very big audience and with a very, very positive results. There are some videos that we placed here, so for you to see how the different subsystems or components of the coupler are tested. So there's continuous testing in the crash, in measuring forces applied, in assessing the functionality of the solutions and the subcomponents being tested. So there's a lot of work behind those activities. And in the next one, you can also see, well, different type of or examples on how these demo trains are already in place, how this retrofitting of the wagons are done in order to install these heavy pieces into the rolling stock and then being tested successfully. And in that sense, the project is continuing to have, of course, or to reach this end of the project with standardized solutions. So with that, the presentation on FP5 would be done. And then I'm briefly also presenting the activities of flagship project 6, Futur. This project is aiming to deliver innovative rail services to revitalize, regional lines and services. A bit here on the project motivation on how this revitalization of the lines could be done in an environmentally sustainable way, and of course with the intention to have less capital and operational costs when they are exploited by providing the innovative solutions in which the project is working upon. FP6 is focusing in five focus areas, as you can see listed here. And in the next slides, I can also give you a bit of the details on how the project is progressing. You can see again here the timeline of the project, also finishing at the end of 2026, so 4 years project, and then where we are at the moment, also halfway until the finalization of the activities. If we focus now on the specific areas, specific area 1 dealing with regional system solutions, the project has already and is still working on the specifications of the requirements for the scenarios defined to get on the FP6 to make these enablers happening. They have been also working on the system architecture for these technical enablers defined in the scope of work of the project, and of course, as per the other FPs, some key performance indicators have been already defined and we have already the first values on how these are progressing. In the area 2, in relation to the cost-efficient performance CCS systems, again, those use cases considered within the activities of the work have been defined for later demonstrations. We are talking about ATO over ETCS with rate of automation 2 to 4. Also talking about how this onboard train integrity and train length options can be considered within those use cases for the preparatory work of the demonstrations, and then preliminary specifications for requirements on CCS validation and TSI certification, as well as the definition of the G2 lines concept, where the demonstration of non-interoperability lines will be developed. In the area 3, in relation to the assets, optimized assets on railways, again, the requirements, the definition of the requirements have been already defined, making use of these use cases for the architecture for wayside infrastructure, and on the ones relating with the track train and track cloud communications. And in relation to the ones dealing with rolling stock, again, a comprehensive state-of-the-art report has been done, where the focus on mechanical architectural parts of the rolling stock has been put across, together with TCMS and traction, propulsion, and modular aspects of the rolling stock. In that sense, the first concept for this lightweight and emission-free rolling stock has been defined with the modular interiors, and that's following up a bit on the activities delivered within Shift2Rail. And to finalize with the area 5, as we were mentioning at the beginning, the intention is to make these regional lines making use of the solutions defined. So, but of course, delivering services that are of benefit for the customers. There have been also use cases and requirements for these TMS and passenger system informations being defined, as well as the requirements for multimodal travel services, including the freight activities, and requirements for AI-based on-demand prediction integrated in these tools mentioned before. If we go to the next one, here you can see here a bit of a summary of the progress of the activities, with the number of already technical deliverables being provided by the project. Also making sure that these alignments with the other FPs and the system pillar is well established and working, as well as having or developing these migration strategies that will have to be put in place to make this work useful for the sector. Yep, that would be flagship project 6, exactly. And then I'm going to give you a bit of a glance on the flagship area 7. As you may know, in the next slide you can see the objective of FA7 is to explore more non-traditional guided transport systems. So in that sense, the JU has already been working with these specific 3 areas. We have been working with automated multimodal mobility systems with different TRL targets until 2031, but also on some projects that have been already, some of them finalized, some of them in progress at the moment, in relation to maglev derived systems, transport systems, and conventional transport systems such as Hyperloop. In the next slide, we can see a bit of a summary of these activities. One of the projects dealing with the first area mentioned before is Pods for Rail, and which objective is to develop these pods and pod carriers for railways. I mean, to make use of these capabilities to use cases being defined. This project started in September 2023. And it will be lasting for 30 months. We have here the second one you can see on maglev derived systems is a project that has been already finalized, and in which 6 use cases have been considered for freight and passenger scenarios. Also within Innotrans, you could see just beside the demo or the showcase of the DAC units, just behind it was some of the or a mock-up of how the project has been working with this devices on the infrastructure. They have developed within this project a European roadmap for possible implementation of these systems, and of course there are still technical opens that need to be fine-tuned and worked upon, but maybe in possible future research activities, this could be a continuation for those activities. And then an activity that will be soon starting as a result of the call 2024 would be Hyper4Rail. The intended expected date to start is December 24, as the rest that were presented by my colleagues. And in that sense, the activities will be focused on defining a harmonized Hyperloop concept with research use cases and validation of those technologies up to a TRL level 4. And then, of course, develop this social economic assessment and roll out a strategy that could maybe give ideas on how these new technologies could be implemented in the medium long term. That is the summary on my side, and then I give the floor again to Sebastian, if you wish. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Javier. Sebastian.
Thank you, Javier. Thank you, Giorgio. So no change for the past 15 minutes. Still Sebastian Denis, and I will now present you this very important part as well of this innovation pillar, that is exploratory research. So the exploratory research activities can be now clustered, I would say, into two batches. So the one we launched in summer 2023 with 6 projects that I will report the results today, but also the ones that have been, I would say, signed only a few months ago. And here it will be more a presentation of the overall objectives of these 6 projects. So coming to the first set of projects, and with Rail for Cities, so I'll remind you the initial objective of the project. So basically, this is to promote and to have the station as a real promoter of sustainable cities. And for that, there is the intention to develop, I would say, a new operational and applicable model of station, but also, I would say, a methodology to explain this applicability, and a tool to support decision maker in order to transform station. And in that objective, in 2024, the project have reached the following have achieved this following results. So basically, there have been a methodology that has been published, and also all the preliminary work, so all the surveys and also the preparation of the station, so the so-called living labs that will host the demonstrators, have been almost completed, so ready for the second phase of the project. For In Bridge for EU, so the this project is largely focusing on the area need on regards of bridge dynamics. So basically to have new and enhanced normative criteria that are currently stipulated in Eurocodes and the TSIs. And so in 2024, the project has indeed, I would say, prepared all the necessary database of rolling stock and bridges in order to, I would say, afterwards demonstrate and simulate all the activities that are foreseen in the second step of the project. And there have been work done on the damping over 60 different bridges, and also the preparation of the test rigs for experimental asset ballast instability. Okay. Yeah, so it's a good summary of the progress of this project. Leader 2030. So here the objective was, and are still somehow, to, I would say, make a gap analysis on the current situation, but also the forecast in 2030 of what will be needed in terms of materials and components in order to implement all the innovations that are currently foreseen by EU Rail as per the EU Rail Master Plan and Multi-Annual Work Program. So for that, the analysis has been conducted and almost finalized. And there is also an analysis that's been done for the other sectors in order to take, I would say, the good approach, the good strategies that are there done, and to apply this strategy into the railway sector to increase the resilience and the autonomy of the supplies. On the next slide, except for freight, so the intention of this exploratory research is really to boost the freight modal shift, and for that there's the intention to develop web platform, so integrating different web services, and also to examine the possibility and the viability of smart contracts. Okay, so for that we are in 2024 at the phase of assessment of the emerging technologies, and also the preliminary analysis of the applicability of the contractual and legal framework toward these smart contracts mentioned before. For DACOR, so here, as you probably know, is largely linked to the development of DAC in FP5, but is more regarding the coordinating European approach for the rollout of the DAC, and also to provide actionable migration and implementation plan. So to mention in 24, but first, this is the operative management that has been conducted by the project for the EDDP, and also the refinement and further development of the first DAC migration roadmap. Academics for rail, so here different areas of research. So the first one is regarding the creation of a tool that will map the research theme. Then the establishment of a scientific observatory observatory, to identify the gap between the current research and the future need. The work on the social KPIs that will be reported by Europe's Rail. So I would say the progress regarding the definition of this KPI assessment framework, and eventually the implementation of 6 PhD for the railway engineering. And for that, in 2024, could be reported by for the completion of the tool that I mentioned before, the draft delivery of the KPI assessment framework that is currently in discussion with the consortium to ensure that the output of this work will fully fill the need of the JU in terms of reporting of the societal impact of the work that is currently done. So this is a very important, I would say, output of the project. And finally, without going too much into details, to the progress in all the PhDs that are done, but obviously the research will be reported only at the end of the project. If we go to the next slide. So here we're entering on the batch of the project that's been signed in summer 2024. So there are 6 projects that are that have been launched. The first one, it is on the biodiversity with symbiosis, that is somehow addressing 2 important work streams. So the first one on the creation on a comprehensive strategy to bridge, I would say, transport and energy infrastructure by the incorporation of consideration of biodiversity consideration. Okay. The second work stream, it's more, I would say, the development of solution. Okay, in order to support, I would say, and to analyze for any product developers for in rail, so the impact and the benefits, I would say, of the project toward the achievement of environmental consideration, but also sustainable development. Okay, so this is the 2 work streams that are addressed by symbiosis. X-Cross has for objective to develop a series of disruptive technologies, mainly focusing on urban use case, so the one on crossing. So they will develop monitoring solution, inspection, support for workers in terms of augmented reality, digital twin, etc., in order to, I would say, improve the monitoring and to extend the crossing surface profiles of the railway crossing, as I said, mainly in an urban environment. Okay, Quasar for Rail is a project that is including quite a lot and diverse research areas, both for rolling stock and infrastructure, noise and vibration. So there is various work streams for that. I'm not going to the details today. If we go to the next slide for the 3 last projects, so PhD Rail. So this is here a consortium that is ensuring the realization of 10 PhDs position, okay, teaming up with industries on various topics. Nexus on the next generation of metro CBTC, but also the analysis of the use of AI and data science for the applicability in a metro operation transport. And finally, there will be, I would say, a refinement of the metro adaptability to demand fluctuation that will be done in the project. And finally, not the last one, so this is the project DAC Fit. So in the continuation of the DAC topic, so there is the intention and the objective to deliver fact-based assessment of the DAC retrofit readiness of the freight locos and wagon, and you take into also consideration a retrofitting capacity assessment in Europe, and also a scalable and executable DAC retrofitting capacity plan. Okay, so as you can see, a very large and diverse area of research, some of them already providing results, and some other that are only starting in 2024. So that's it for the overall situation on exploratory research within the innovation pillar. Thank you.
Thank you, Sebastian. Thank you, all colleagues, for this presentation. It's now time for a question and answer. From a quick look, but Corduta, correct me if I'm wrong, I couldn't see any question in the chat, so it means that you were perfectly clear. But nevertheless, I ask also here in the room, and we have one question from Miroslav.
I have a question to the FP7 part. From the perspective of the member states, we are discussing in our group also this type of projects, and I would like to ask what's the time perspective for implementing the results? I think it's quite a long term, and some of these technologies like maglev were already tested many years ago. I remember 15 or 20 years ago in Germany, there was a study and a testing line near Hamburg to test maglev. And these ideas were not implemented, were not positively reacted. So my question is, if this is the right perspective for the projects, in comparison with high-speed rail development, the classical high-speed rail, if you can answer, what's the purpose and reason for that development, which is a long-term perspective? Thank you.
Thank you, Miroslav. Javier, if you agree, I see that Judith is online. I will pass her the question directly. Otherwise, I can also, or you can also reply.
Indeed, of course, yeah.
Good morning. So the answer is with regards to the maglev part. So it's not related to develop a maglev solution because it's already existing. So in Asia or in China, Japan, you already have solutions available. Here, what we are focusing on is really to see how maglev technology, so magnetic levitation, could be used as a booster for the existing railway system. So for the current European railway network. And then these different use cases are assessed. So not only for high-speed application, but also for regional lines and also for freight applications. They are assessing how they could be used in hubs or terminals. Also, these additional magnetic or air levitation solutions, and how this would increase the performance of the current railway system. So this is in a nutshell the purpose of this flagship in this part of this flagship area. And as you also mentioned, Miroslav, so these are still lower TRL, so technology readiness level projects. And the implementation, and it's still some time ahead. And also when you look at the scope of these activities, you can see that there is a very strong focus on technical as well as economical feasibility assessment. So seeing how they can be implemented and also what is the economic impact of this the implementation of these new technologies.
Thank you, Judith. Kodruta, are there any questions online in the meantime?
Yeah, there is one comment. Can you hear me? Yes.
Yes.
So there is one comment from Laurent Nicod. He states that maglev was studied long time ago, benchmark with Asia solutions by Alstom. In conclusion, excessive energy consumption versus VHSD, and it was an abandoned solution. That's...
Yes. So this comment indeed relates to the past. We're looking into the future. So what we have been discovering in the past, can also be challenged, and new technologies or new use cases, like Judith explained, may make some technology, let's say, that was abandoned or dismissed in the past relevant today. Anders.
Thank you, Giorgio. So, Miroslav, thank you for your question. I think it's very relevant, a good one. So my question to you and the state representative group, is there some research at lower TRL level that you are actually missing that you would like to promote?
Yes, in that relations to these new technologies, Hyperloop, Maglev, or some others, we need first the socio-economic study for the Europe, because what is applicable as a new technology and it's relevant, for instance, in US, in Australia, or some in the world context, could not be applied simply in Europe because of the different population densities, different distances, different number of passengers or freight flows. Traffic flows between the hubs, etc. So this is the first step, because the technology is already here. We cannot develop we don't need to develop this technology from technical point of view, only for the implementation. If there is really confirming or contributing to the rail system in Europe. Thank you.
We have another comment. Question in the chat. Does the DAC-related projects investigate solution for the intermediate situation where train set could be equipped with wagons with DAC and wagons without DAC? I guess that's...
Yep, thank you, Karuta. I can take that one, Giorgio. Yeah. Yeah, in that, it's the FP5, but just to give you a bit of FP5 transformer is dealing with the activities to provide a standardized solution on that. Okay, but this comment you're raising here is more related with the migration strategies and the migration scenarios that will later on will have to be considered. Okay, there are other specific projects, as it was mentioned before, on exploratory. DAC-FIT is going to be working on these specific migration strategies, vehicle fleet, and so on. That in which, in order to have a stable and sustained migration strategy, those activities or those combinations of wagons not being equipped with DAC, with other ones being equipped in the same consist, would have to be most probably considered in order to make this retrofitting and adaptation of the rolling stock feasible and affordable in the long run. Okay, so in that sense, it's more a migration strategy in there, rather than an activity that we are focusing on. It would be, in that sense, the provision of the DAC standardized solutions for FP5, okay, from FP5.
Thank you, Javier. One question also here from David.
Yeah, as a question that probably does need some compliments because we have been told during the sessions that also the next mission of the Commission is to try to promote the connection of high speed between the major cities of Europe, but as well we have to make this compatible with the increase of freight traffic. And one of the topics is that sometimes we don't address exactly how do we compatibilize both traffics. And I'm not talking exactly in the same corridor, but maybe exactly in the same line. This has some challenges. This is not operationally harmonized because some avoid the crossing, others have other conditions. Let's say that this is a question to be harmonized in the SERA context, and I would like to know if we could address that challenge, not only in a technical sense, but also in an operational one. That deals with aerodynamics, but also with safety as well. Thanks.
You want to reply, Javier? Otherwise, I can also give a go.
Yeah, I can complement a bit on what David, completely agree on what David is stating. In that sense, FP5 is not focused on those operational, let's say, scenarios, but I mean, indeed, it's something that has to be considered. But yes, please, Giorgio, feel free to add, yeah.
Yes, I think it's a very relevant point. And as Javier mentioned, at the moment, we're not actually touching it. So I think it's a good idea also for looking into the future. And then we will have to see how we can implement it, maybe with a study, I would say, on how to make it happen, and then harmonizing. And in a moment, I think it's a good transition to explain it in the system pillar context. And so I don't see any more. There is one more question. Yes. Yeah. So in a moment, the system pillar. So the next question, Kodruta.
Yeah. Does EU-Rail consider or acknowledge the most recent statement from the consortium DEC dash voice of reason in the assessment? Javier?
I can also take it, and then Giorgio, you add if you wish. Yeah, we have indeed met the group called themselves that voice of reason. We have been discussing and exchanging with them on the progress of the activities of FP5, on the progress of the activities of the EDDP. We have also addressed the concerns they may have and how these concerns might be also be put forward in the different, let's say, advisory groups. We may call it inside this EDDP structure on the sounding boards. And indeed, I mean, we see we have acknowledged their statements, and we are in contact with them. But indeed, some of the concerns are really touching on the activities FP5 and FA5 activities are addressing, and in that sense, maybe further collaboration is foreseen. But in their assessments, well, after reading carefully to them, we also have provided very detailed and exhaustive input and feedback. So in that sense, the collaboration with them is open, and we are again expecting that they join these bodies where we are, or where everyone in the sector is welcome to attend and provide comments and concerns. But Giorgio, please.
Thank you, Javier. No, that's very good. So the answer is yes, if there was a doubt. So, Kodruta, no more question, I think?
No more questions, no.
Very good. So then I'm happy to introduce the next part of our session. And I will ask Ian Collon, Zonke Kraft, and as well as the System Pillar Core Group to present the status of the activities of the System Pillar.
And we aim for half an hour. I'll control the slides. Good morning to everyone. I think what you've heard in the last hour and a quarter is a really impressive wealth of information, and it shows, I think, the breadth of topics that we consider in E-Rail. I just wanted to take maybe 2 minutes to have a breather from the onslaught of information and give a little perspective on the context of what we try and do in this element of the joint undertaking on the so-called system pillar work. You heard in the introductory section from Magda Kopczyńska, the Director General of DG Move, the importance not only of innovation per se, but also being able to implement in a cost-effective way that supports the competitiveness of rail, that supports the competitiveness of European rail suppliers, and also that essentially enables research to be realized. The other point that she made was that we should consider, in particular now, but also for the future partnership, what we should be doing at European level. So the basic concept of the system pillar work is where we're looking to introduce innovation. How do we do that in a way that is cost competitive? And that is not only the implementation, but also across the life cycle. And how can we increase the performance? But also, in particular, where and when do we need to harmonize at European level? So this isn't for every aspect of the rail system, but for certain elements, for sure, it is. And therefore, the focus of the system pillar work is around the control, command, and signaling system, which controls the safety of the train, but also linked elements to that. And the point is, and this was also made if you were listening to the presentation from Mark Topal yesterday, when we're implementing something like the digital automated coupler, if you're talking about implementing such a solution, it's not really conceivable that there's a feasible way to do it on a national basis. And it's the same for future improvements to the control, command and signaling system. It is simply unfeasible to think how you would implement automated train operations or improvements to train positioning or the way that the trains are monitored, for example, for example, the introduction of moving block in a way that is different across member states. So we must, when we're looking at CCS systems, look at European approaches. So this is the basic idea of the system pillar. There's a clear need for a European approach to the improvement of the system. And then how do we do that in a way that is cost effective? So this is the basic rationale. So hopefully clear. The point that I want to make in terms of the generalized approach is that we look not only at the technical implementation and the system design, but also the operations. And it's necessary, I think, to look at the two together. So we have a need when we are considering the implementation of new solutions, not only to consider the technical improvements, but how it is actually operated in practice. And this is what we do within the system pillar work on the CCS side and on also the digital automated coupler side. So we look at the two things in parallel, how to harmonize or better harmonize operational processes for implementation in combination with the technical solution being offered. So this is the general concept. The next slide presented is definitely not for reading, but gives you, I think, just a view of the breadth of topic that we cover in the system pillar work. In the subsequent presentations, we won't cover all of the elements. So this kind of highlights in a comprehensive way the different parts of work that is done. What we will do in the rest of the presentation is first, again, illustrate this basic concept, why there's essentially a requirement, a necessity for a more harmonized approach, especially around the control, command, and signaling system from the railway and supplier point of view. And then we'll do a slightly deeper dive into some of the elements on the harmonized operational rulebooks on the trackside architecture and products, but again, not covering everything that we're doing. So I will then hand over to different members of the System Pillar Core Group. Hopefully this won't be too confusing. There's quite a lot of people who will be presenting. I asked them all to be relatively concise as we're running a little over schedule, and Carol, who will be presenting on the deployment group, already warned me that not to squeeze his time too much. So we aim to finish in general by about 11:15. So first I hand over to Nico Schwan from now Hitachi to give the supplier's view on this context for the need for a harmonized approach. Then we'll get the railways view from Sylvia, and then we'll do the deep dive. So Nico, please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Ian. So from a supplier's point of view, what we can say is that if we look in the system and the CCS system that we have today, we really have managed in the last years to harmonize really the air gap interface for CCS. However, there are several things that from a supplier's point of view make it difficult to really deliver a harmonized solution within Europe. There are several national requirements like Class B systems, and in particular, the missing operational harmonization in the different markets that really lead to a situation where, from a supplier point of view, we are redeveloping variants of more or less the same features for all the different markets. And in particular, we need to maintain also these different variants of the same solutions over a long period of time. And this is a situation that really forces us to scatter the precious development resources over these different solutions. And on the long run, this leads or might lead to a really unsustainable situation. It's really not efficient. And what Sarah will really help us is that we come into a position where we can sell European-wide the same products without any adaptation, really leading to a modular and upgradable system And the main prerequisite from our point of view is that we not only focus on harmonization of technical interfaces, but as well on the operations that are the basis today for a lot of variability in the products. And if we manage to do this, we really get into a position where we as an industry come to one that is today focused really on development or redevelopment of the same features, to one that is able to deploy much faster and broadly and hopefully more cost efficient. So from our perspective, the system pillar is now really the framework that allows us to bring some disruption really in speed and reducing cost on a European level if we follow up in the program. So this in a nutshell, I would say, summarizes the supplier's view, and then I will hand over to, I think, Sylvia for the railways view.
Thank you, Nico. So yes, definitely, as railways, what we see is that, of course, nowadays we're introducing digital systems to the railways, which actually modernize them, but also introduces new and different challenges in the deployment. So amongst these challenges, there is an exponential increase of the interfaces that we have currently. And this means that we need to have this system view of the complete system. Also, we see that there are different speeds for the changes, different speeds for the changes, different speed for the different products, which means these are new challenges, and these are different challenges from the ones that we had before in the railways. So for the CERA impact, what we expect, and I think that this was already said before, we expect off-the-shelf products, but off-the-shelf products with a performance and updatable products that we can use at early steps of deployment and in this stepwise approach in all our future deployments. So as a conclusion, what we actually believe is what we need is a harmonized and modern architecture of the system. That this is crucial for the next European system, and that there is an opportunity, a clear opportunity to develop this in the system pillar. And now, as Johan was mentioning, we go into the details in the next slides.
Thanks, Sylvia and Nico. Admirable timekeeping. So hopefully we can keep this up through the presentations. So hopefully you get a picture on both the supplier and railway side of the necessity here for a more harmonized approach. The opportunity is there. I mean, it's a colossal task. Let's not underestimate it, but the opportunity is there when systems change to ETCS level 2 implementation and the removal of line-side signaling. So this is what we focus on. And as I mentioned, this is really based on the premise of a more harmonized operational approach. So I hand over now to Stefan Schmidt, who will talk a bit about the ongoing work for the development of the operational rulebook for level 2 operations.
Yes, thank you. Good morning. So, as being said, it is the prerequisite and the start of the full harmonization process coming to harmonized products and also more interoperability. It is done in the domain teams in 2 steps, or you can say in 2 iterations. The first is the so-called harmonization concepts, which is just finished this October. And the next one will be in the next 3 years to go down deeper and refine all this in the operational rulebooks. The harmonization here is a bit easier than we know from the past because we have 2 advantages. The one is that we're just focusing on a harmonized ETCS level 2 implementation, a pure level 2 implementation to be very industrial and very clean, but really in a way harmonized that we can say also, and this is the second reason, design a target system to it. The problems of the past of harmonization was always that we have more than 30, 40 different technical solutions in the countries. And since operational processes are directly linked and dependent to functionality of systems, it was always difficult to make large harmonization steps. But now designing it for one target system, it's much easier. Next slide, please. The rulebook that will be designed in the next 3 years will be a database, so it will be consistent and in terms of structure and also, let's say, maintainability and publication. It will be possible to make different use of it, complete descriptions, for example, for trainings or handbooks, or even compressed daily checklists. So we tried also to innovate the way how operational knowledge is distributed, and it also changed. Next slide, please. The rulebooks shall harmonize the requirements for systems. This is one of the big reasons to do it. And to do this, of course, we need to touch all CCS systems, which is also CCS trackside systems and some of the maintenance systems. This means that we have a different scope compared to the former TSI OPE. And this means we have to do it for all actors, what you can see at the bottom left, for example, especially for the signalers and, for example, for safety guards, for the construction sites. And the other point is we do it in a process style. So the description is not just single rules for single questions. It is really a complete process covering the full functionality that is need to come to one requirement set for CCS systems. And the last point is that we include, of course, degraded modes or configuration-specific elements, for example, for GRA2 and other questions in one process set, so that we have really a complete rulebook for ETCS level 2 specific application. Next slide, please. You see just the list of the concepts that were done, and as being said, the point was that it was easier between the experts in the last 3 years to come to an agreement how to harmonize. So first, the differences of the countries were, of course, analyzed and the different reasons and targets and ambitions. But seeing the point that it is now just level 2 and that we have the possibility to influence the target system in terms of functionality, it went quite fast in 2 years to come, let's say, to a 90% alignment about the operational processes, including most important degraded modes. And this is now in the state where we can put it to review and then also in the decision process as a concept level. Of course, when we go deeper inside of the rule books, there will be more discussions coming up. But for now, as a, let's say, general direction and alignment between, especially the railways, it is very helpful. Thanks. I think I'm finished.
Thank you, Stefan. So now I hand over to Christoph Klöser to describe the work on the trackside architecture. So, I mean, the work that's done in the system pillar on the operational rulebook is really hand in hand with the development of a new and slimmed down trackside architecture for the CCS system, and that's what Christoph will describe now.
Okay, thank you very much, Ian, and good morning also from my side. And what I would like to show to you and explain in a few minutes is how this operational rulebook and operational harmonization translates and will be converted into a harmonized system architecture. And we will do this collectively together, especially on the way side, to make sure that what we're defining in the operational procedures and in the rulebook can then be implemented by a technology system, especially on the wayside signaling system. Let's go directly to the next slide, please. Here you see a number of very important preconditions or premises we have been defined. Already said, ETCS level 2 trackside without signals, maybe some shunting signals. The system should be based on FRMCS and GSMR and or GSMR. So it will support also today's train. So I think this is a very important message. There is no need to upgrade trains to operate on this, let's say, newly defined system. We will control vehicles with train length, train integrity, but also without, so mixed operation. Supervised maneuvers will be introduced. One important topic is also to reduce the SIL4 functionality and complexity to the lowest possible effort. Supporting the ULINX interfaces what had already been defined and which are currently also introduced into the market. It would also be a system with a standardized interface towards the TMS system, traffic management, with an operational plan. Based on this small safety kernel, also a generic rules for safety case and safety principles, so that it's possible to use this system without rehomologation all over Europe. Sensor fusion, I already mentioned, take information from tracks and train. We will also define a signal user interface, also especially for the degraded modes, as Steffen mentioned before. Topology data should be used also in a harmonized way, also to bring them into the system, which should also work on any topology without any site-specific changes or adaptations in the functionality. It will support, and as an option, also GOA2. GOA3.4 RTO comes later. And then also, as mentioned before, efficient and rich degraded modes. Next slide, please. Here you see a first glimpse into the architecture. The kernel of this architecture will be the trackside protection system, which is intended and foreseen to be a SIL4 system. On top, an adaptation layer where with non-vital functionality to be interfacing to the TMS system. And for sure, we define also interfaces to the adjacent TPS system, which also then will increase options to interface with existing legacy installed base on the infrastructure side. And then to my last slide, please. What are the advantages? When we have a pure level 2 system without legacy, we have less system efforts. With the localization possibilities included here, we have an efficient and scalable solution. We use the physical capacity in a better way due to the fact that we have a better traffic management flow and also integration of the traffic management information. Pre-configuration, as said, based on digital maps, mixed fleet, so making use of the integrity train length, and then also that the ETCS system is fully linked with the TMS system for the operational mode, fixed block, virtual block, and also moving block. Thanks a lot from my side, and then back to you, Ian.
Thank you very much, Christoph. I think just to emphasize here, so the focus is on ETCS level 2 only implementation. And the point is, obviously, the specifications for ETCS level 2 exist and can be implemented. The point here and the point of the work is that from both the supplier and the railway point of view, the current specifications are insufficient to allow a successful harmonized implementation for ETCS level 2. So what we try and do here is do the extra step, the operational harmonization, the consideration of the whole CCS system and what should be harmonized to support the general transition. So that's on the track side. There is also work ongoing on the evolution of the onboard system, and for that I hand back to Sylvia.
Thank you, Ian. So as I was mentioning before, what we need is this harmonized and modern product architecture. And this is what the outcome of the Train CS domain is. So what we have is not only the target architecture, but also a roadmap of the introduction into the market of these innovations in different steps, so that we have this strategic view of where we are going in the sector. So modularity, of course, is key in such an architecture. This modularity introduces the possibility for a more open market. It allows separation of the life cycle of different modules. And of course, it supports this mitigation of the problem of updatability of the systems. Of course, we need to understand what is the level of modularity, that's the best level of modularity for the systems, in order to avoid including too much complexity in the integration of the systems. But this is the work that the Train CS domain is doing, and that you can see in the figure here. And in this figure, what I also want to highlight is not only the aspect of modularity and the different systems where we are working, but also the aspect of harmonization. In this figure, you see a reference to the standardization and TSI input plan that you will You will be informed in the next slides. But what we mean here is that, of course, these different modules, and not only the modules, but the interfaces in many cases need to be harmonized. And therefore, we need to develop these specifications that allow to integrate in a better way the systems. So this modularity together with the harmonization and standardizations is what we understand the outcome of the trained CS domain will contribute in accelerating the deployment of the innovations. And with this, back to you, Ian.
Thank you very much, Sylvia. Now cover a couple of other link points on the CCS system. So the first on the so-called CCS TMS data model. And for that, it's with Nico.
Yes, thanks. So, yeah, thanks. So what is the CCS TMS data model? This is really the shared language that we apply to all the harmonized interfaces in the system pillar. And as such is then really a basis for future development to really have enable a much higher harmonization for the CCS and TMS system. This model has been developed in the last 2-3 years in a bottom-up manner using existing specifications and is now published since end of the year, I think September or October, on the website in a draft version. In a draft version because overall the system pillar top-down engineering process still requires some work to formally come to a conclusion on the overall specification. And until then, this CCS TMS data model will be reworked to until it contains the full specification of the system pillar. One more point to mention, it is fully based on the ERA ontology. The ERA ontology, as you know, is a semantic data model that ERA uses to make sure that all the words used within the rail sector are really concise and well understood. And it is so the CCS TMS data model has worked tightly together with ERA to make sure that the CCS TMS data model can be derived automatically and with a digital process from the ontology. The ontology will be updated in order to support this data model to make sure that the system pillar overall is fully consistent with the ERA ontology. So this is already a good achievement. And gives the basis for the further work until the full harmonization scope of the system pillar is finalized. Okay.
Thank you very much, Nico. And then for the last couple of deep dives, we branch out a little bit beyond CCS. So the next topic is on cybersecurity, really important topic for rail as a whole and becoming more and more salient as a topic. Within the system pillar tasks and domains, we have a very dynamic cybersecurity domain with representatives from the railways and the supplier sides. We've been really doing a lot of good work to advance the design needs for cybersecurity, and Paolo Cucci will describe the work next.
Thanks, Ian. Morning, everyone. I will give you a short update about the work that has been done in the cybersecurity domain team. The work, we need to say that it's good to remember that this work started 2 years ago with a collection of all the works that has been done in the past years in the sector. And then, as you can see from the picture, merging the European legislation and standard already existing in order to have as a result a specification, and you can see here in this slide on the bottom, the result is a full documented specification, where you can see starting from the left the secure component specification, shared security service specifications, secure communication specifications, and security program requirements. Only the two most important for interoperability are the shared security service and the secure communication specification. This document are available now. The process that has been followed It's we had already 2 cycles of review starting during the current year, and the plan is to deliver this full document to publish this document January 2025. This is the current status. So, which are the next step? The document will be published. The same approach will be used also for other TSI as we already did. So the domain team did already an investigation on TAP, for example, TSI. And together with her, we are discussing how to cooperate for other TSIs, to apply the same rules also for this. I think I said everything. So the old document, of course, is mapping and trace the European legislation, all the input coming from the different law and standard. So in this moment, you will find already this kind of traceability.
Thanks a lot, Paolo. And indeed, yes, it should be the first quarter of next year that these formal first drafts should be submitted into the ERA change control management process. So, I mean, they're already available publicly, but they'll be more formally available through that process. So hopefully, for anyone who's interested in those documents, they'll be readily available first quarter of next year. The next topics are more broadly on the link to DAC and link to harmonized diagnostics. For that, I hand over to Matthias Moritz.
Yeah, thank you very much for the timekeeping. Yeah, the DAC, we have seen it, we heard it yesterday from Mark Topal and also today from Magda Kopczyńska. It's a big innovation, and the system pillar is trying to put together what the Flagship Program 5 and the EDTP need and doing to put it towards the STIP. We see it in a few minutes what the STIP is, what we have to do regarding authorization. That's our main thing. And as we have seen how important the operational harmonization is, we start here in that new system with the standard rule book. That's one of the tasks which are now almost completed. We are also doing a recommendation regarding safety. The safe train length and train integrity is something where we also want to improve. That this is very simple done. You have seen with all the other activities on the onboard and trackside that this is smoothly working together with very little effort in showing the authorization. And what is also very new and interesting is the central instance. So you heard from Sylvia the problem with the different life cycles. We already have here central instances which ensure the short lifetime of digital electronics, that we have that already embedded in that system. We miss it in the other parts. It's not so easy to update software in the rail domain as you do it, where you know it from your own PC and so on. So that are the things we are working on. And the next step is, of course, the pilot trains when they are funded. You see on the slides the red Euro signs are where we don't have a secure budget yet. So that is in one of the next steps we are doing. Then we can go to the next. HERT is something a little bit everywhere is diagnostics and diagnostics we have for many decades. But here in the HERT project, we focus on harmonization of diagnosis, which is unfortunately not done as well as it could be. But to do it also in a budget efficient and business efficient way, we are working with use cases here. So we have 2 very interesting use cases for the single European railway area, that we are using the capabilities of the vehicle to monitor the track. That's use case number 2. And the other way around, to monitor the vehicle from the track side. These are the 2 very challenging use cases we are investigating. Also, the report here is very closely to its end. And here we are looking what needs to be standardized and how a use case in a commercial way can be facilitated to a good business case also. So that are the innovative things here, how we can improve the diagnosis of the system on the normal operation without having special hardware and special vehicles to detect the things. Thank you. That's it from my side.
Thank you, Matthias. The final point, just to cover within the system pillar presentation, is the other aspect of the work that we do. So not so much on the kind of the system design, but on trying to bridge the the processes of research and innovation at European level and the harmonization processes. The means that we do this is with a document called the Standardization TSI Input Plan. And for that, I hand over to Zonke Kraft to give us a brief presentation of the work there.
Yes, good morning. We can maybe go directly to the next slide in the interest of time. So we know from the past, from experience in the past, that it is often difficult to ensure the transfer of outcomes from innovation and development projects into the sector. That means into regulation, standardization, and then at the end into the deployment of the sector. And the goal of the standardization and TSI input plan is to improve and facilitate the transfer of these topics into the sector. So what is the standardization and TSI input plan? It's a document which collects all the outcomes of the system pillar, but also of the innovation pillar, which are relevant for harmonization. It's a document which has been now published. It's publicly available on the website of Europe's Rail. You can have a look at it and download it. And the idea of the standardization and TS input plan is not to replace existing harmonization processes, but to ensure that these innovation topics and the outcomes of Europe's Rail are delivered as mature inputs to existing harmonization processes. That means basically to the TSI process, the revision of the TSI, and to European standardization. And for this reason, we work together with ERA, and we are still working together with ERA and the standardization process to align the topics and the coordination of these innovation topics with the request for the TSI revision on the one hand, and with a request for the standardization on the other hand, to ensure that the topics are delivered with the right level of maturity at the right moment in time to the TSI revision process and to the standardization process. Yes, I think in the interest of time, thank you very much.
Thank you, Zonke. Yeah, I mean, and just to underline the work here, I mean, I think it can be seen as a process work, and it is, but I think it is really important in facilitating the general work that's done at European level, so that we have the most efficient process in terms of the improvements that should be made in the TSIs, the improvements that should be made in the standards, and a clear coordination and communication between EU Rail and those relevant bodies. And I think the first step in that was the alignment between the publication of the work here and the request from the Commission to the agency on the TSI revision, where this is now fully aligned. So the outputs of the JU are fully aligned in terms of the TSI changes for, in fact, the next 10 years. So that, I think, is a major accomplishment for this first round of the standardization TSI input plan. And that concludes the presentation on the system pillar side. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian, Zonke, and all the core group team for this comprehensive view of the activities of the system pillar. So I'm handing over now to the question and answer session of the system pillar part. I don't see, Kodruta, any question online, unless I'm missing.
No, indeed, no. Here? Here is one. So Dennis Milianico, sorry if I'm not pronouncing correctly. As you know, recruiting drivers is a key challenge for future, and drivers' cabs should be attractive for new generation of drivers. Is there any plan to prepare a new generation of onboard display interface specification? The current one is around 20 years old, to be much more closer to what is implemented in the latest car cockpit.
I hand over maybe to Christoph or Sylvia on this for the onboard work.
Yeah, maybe some words here. This falls into maybe two categories. One category is let's say the design itself, and the second is how to integrate the display into the overall vehicle system. What we have already started tackling is the specification to integrate it in, let's say, an overall vehicle design, so that in the future there is no need for a special ETCS display. The other topic, what is still pending, but it's maybe more on a long-term agenda and also on the discussion with ERA, is a new design for the display itself. So this is something what is to come, what we have at the moment not tackling, but might tackle in the future.
Thank you. No other question in the chat.
Okay, thank you very much. Here from the room, one question. Michael?
My question regards the CCS trackside architecture. Can you tell a bit more about what is meant by the trackside protection system?
Yeah, I can do. The trackside protection system is a system which should combine the vital functions of the systems or what we have currently in the RBC and the interlocking. Because in the new design where we don't have wayside signals anymore, a lot of the complexity of an interlocking and a lot of functionality of an interlocking is not needed in the way we need it today. And therefore, the idea here is to combine the vital functionality in one subsystem instead of two.
Thank you.
Miroslav?
I have two short remarks. First is to the operational rule book. I would like to take into consideration that operation is not equation with TSI OPE. It's linked to many more TSIs, so pay attention on that. That's only my remark, not to forget the complexity. And the second remark is to the cybersecurity topic, that it's necessary to take into consideration the transposition processes within the member states of NIS2 directive that may cause a lot of difficulties because the transposition is on the member states and may cause really great impact. So don't forget that.
Thanks, Miroslav. I mean, the latter point I think is a good one. I mean, on the NIS side, as far as I understand it, there are some aspects. One, a very broad requirements on companies for general kind of cybersecurity responsibilities, and in the end, ultimate responsibility if something goes wrong. This is not really what we're talking about here, which is about the application of the cybersecurity legal framework and standards into kind of product design and development. So it's a little bit different, but I think the point is a good one, and obviously welcome if we can use the SRG process to explore that in a little bit more detail. That would be extremely useful. On the scope of the OPTSI, I think as was explained in the presentation, we go for the level 2 only implementation in a deeper consideration of the operational rules and requirements and processes, including the grade modes, including different actors. So your point is noted and I think taken into account in the process as it stands. It's beyond the current scope of the TSI OPE.
One question from Christophe.
Yes, regarding TPS, we had many discussion and exchange inside the SNCF group, and especially with the engineering team of SNCF Réseau. And my colleagues, experts, are not totally convinced of the ability to TPS to face some of the specific safety cases of the rail system. Yes, so they would, yes. They think that a further safety case analysis should be perhaps of interest in order to further deep this analysis regarding the existing knowledge in the safety analysis of a CCS system. Yes, so it's not the case of the to be carried out inside the system pillar, but perhaps to be considered in the further activities of Europe's rail. And I think it would be of use of interest for the overall European railway community. Yes.
Yeah, I think
Christoph, go ahead.
Yeah, I think this topic, we are well aware of this topic, and we are currently looking really for the examples you mentioned, which kind of safety principles and safety rules are currently, let's say, not consistent with this approach. So, and then we would highly appreciate if we can evaluate them and take them into consideration.
Perhaps a bilateral exchange could be useful, yes, between Bettinyu, with the support of the GU team and dedicated to the system pillar in order to evaluate what could be needed or increase the confidence between all the parties on that topic.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, 100%, Christoph. I mean, obviously, whatever approach is being put forward in the end needs to be tested and validated. So the earlier that we can do that, the better. So appreciate the offer.
Hey, thank you very much. Kodruta, there is another question.
Indeed, and I'm going to read it now. The STIP is a very good tool for facilitating transfer to standardization. Would it be possible to provide context name of the different STIP topics to send Senelec technical committees to foster exchange between experts and Senelec working groups?
Let Sonke answer this one.
I mean, in principle, we at the system pillar are the coordinating body, let's say, to ensure that the contact between the different projects in the innovation pillar and the system pillar and the work ongoing in the standardization work and also in TSI is working well. So my proposal would be to come to us here at the system pillar, and then we will ensure that the right contact between ongoing standardization work in Senelec and the work in the system pillar or the innovation pillar is ensured.
Thank you, Zonke. And by the way, this is also something we are already actively doing. So Senelec, ETSI, they are perfectly aware of the work of the system pillar. If there are no more questions, what I would propose is actually to do a break. It has been a very insightful deep dive session, so I think that we all deserve a good coffee. And then I would suggest that we resume in 15 minutes, 11:45, and we dive directly into the last part of our three pillar on the operational report with the deployment group and the EDDP. And then later on, we will touch upon the last aspect, very important as well. How can you get all the information without waiting at the end of next year, the next session? So thank you very much. And we break there for 15 minutes and we're back at 11:45.
Sorry, we can't hear you.
Okay, I think that now you can hear me. I will restart. So welcome back. We will continue our session on the results of 2024 with my colleague Karen van Giels, former CTO of ProRail, that was kindly enough to join the team of Europe's Rail as seconded national expert, and it will be followed as well by Javier, that you have already met on the EDDP. So those are key elements that we have in preparing the deployment. So without further ado, I will leave the floor to Karen.
Thank you very much, Giorgio. When we go, this morning we already heard a lot of information on the outcome and the results of the innovation pillar and also of the system pillar. And next to that, we set up last year a third pillar, the so-called deployment group. And Javier and I will say a few words on why the importance of deployment is there and how we approach this. And what we get from the sector is more and more pressure on deployment and implementation. Of course, this because of the obsolescence of systems, but also of innovations getting into production and getting into our sector. And EU Rail stepped in on that with a much more focus on deployment. And when we go to the next slide, we already set up the EDDP program, but Javier will talk about that. And next to that, we built up the deployment, so-called deployment group last year. It's a group focusing on European coordination on deployment issues, firstly coming out of the EU Rail activities, but also from the sector. We already have the first 3 meetings. By the way, these are until now informal meetings. We are waiting for formalization from the European Commission, and after formalization we will open this group also for the whole sector. But in the meantime, we already approach associations and companies to step in, and it was decided that the ongoing work was already done, or is already done, and we started with FRMCS deployment as a first topic. And I have a few slides on the FRMCS deployment. Here on this slide, you see the playing field of the organizations dealing with FRMCS and FRMC deployments. I will not go into detail, but on the left you see UIC, responsible for setting up the functional requirements to the testing, the first testing, etc. On the right side, you see the standardization bodies, of course, involved in standardization of the new radio requirements. You see the connection with the system pillar within Europe's Rail on system architecture and requirements, but also with the innovation pillar for the testing and validation of the new radio specifications, which is now will be done as from next year in the Morane 2 program, one of the flagship 2 activities also. And you also see the ERA contribution and the Commission, where I mentioned also the ERTMS coordinator. Of course, FRMCS is closely connected to ERTMS, and there is a close interaction. In the midst, you see the setup of the new group. We identified 3 major work streams, one on technical issues, technical deployment issues, one on financial and legal issues, and one of migration alignments. So these 3 groups are in the meantime already set up and working on first analysis. And these first analysis, when we go to the next slide, are focusing on a few remits which was put in place by the high-level deployment group, and we are now working on in the FRMCS deployment group. First of all, make a better analysis of what's ongoing on FRMCS deployment. As you maybe know, we have currently 130,000 kilometers of GSMR tracks in Europe. We have over 50,000 of vehicles equipped with GSMR equipment. And to have a better analysis of the current plans, of the upcoming plans to retrofit these assets, we start with a more in-depth analysis. For this analysis, we also use the national implementation plans. We will also do financial analysis. We also will do analysis on capacity. It is foreseen that up until 2035, the migration of FMPCS will take place. So in a very limited and short period, we have to be sure that workshop capacity, supplier capacity, production capacity is available. So to do some analysis on that gives a better overview of what is upcoming. And when we go then to the next slide, we will also focus on a regulatory framework and look together with ERA and NSAs how we can maybe accelerate the authorization work, which has to also be done in a very short period. The starting positions on FRMCS are different in different countries. Some of the countries already are still busy with the GSMR rollout programs. Some of them have already equipped rolling stock with baseline 3 assets and on-board units. Some of them are working on the next baselines. So different migration scenarios to come to the implementation of the foreseen first edition of FRMCS will be considered. And for that, it is an advisory board. We will make recommendations to the governing board of EU Rail and the sector how to do this European coordination. And when we go to the last slide, this is a program not only for the next upcoming year, but it will last at least until the first implementation will take part as from 2027, 28, 29. And as you see in maybe the draft picture, a lot of activities will go on in parallel. It will have to be done in parallel in all European countries on the FRMCS rollout. So the responsibility for these rollout programs lays, of course, with the IMs and the RUs, but we will support and facilitate them with the European coordination if needed. This is all I have to say on the deployment group, which is building up on the experience in the already existing EDDP program, the European DAC delivery program, and I will hand over to Javier to explain the EDDP program and the status.
Yep. Thank you very much, Carol. Thank you very much, Giorgio. Well, I will be, as Carol mentioned, explaining a bit more on the EDDP. The European DAC delivery program can be seen as another focus group for deployment. The EDDP is enabled by Europe's Rail Undertaking, and it's a unique platform, as you can see here, dedicated to the successful implementation of the digital automatic coupler as a means to positively impact the rail freight operations and systems in Europe. A bit of background, the EDDP is founded on an open cooperation concept, so it gathers a wide range of entities from railway undertakings, infrastructure managers, wagon keepers, as well as, of course, the railway supply industry, entities in charge of maintenance and the concerned sector organizations, research and rail research centers, and, of course, national and European institutions. As you can see here, the main aim is to deliver a European DAC solution through an integrated program building upon the research and innovation activities that I explained a bit this morning, on focus on the activities of FP5, dealing with the target operational procedures, the functional requirements, and the system architecture, integrating all these concepts. So the actions for a fast and technical and feasible rollout can be deployed as per the plan I'm going to show you a bit later on. But first of all, for a successful and effective implementation of this DAC, it is crucial to have this open platform where all these entities can raise the concerns and where these activities can be handled. In that sense, the EDDP, as you can see here in the left-hand side on the part A square here, we have, or the EDDP has enforced or has developed sounding boards. I also referred very briefly this morning on the technology being developed within the activities of FP5 and on the operational procedures, also linked to the activities of FP5. In that sense, on these regular meetings we hold with the sector and the interested parties, these outcomes and progress of the activities is openly shared with these under this open collaboration. And then this has, of course, a follow-up on the EDDP meetings that we have at program board level and at supervisory board level. It was already mentioned yesterday that the importance to overcome lack of capacity, improving shunting operations, are the fact that the sector needs to be or must be faster in implementing these actions, is supported by the EDDP on shifting from the research and development activities within the Europe's Rail program itself to the implementation, and later on from implementation to the deployment. As was also mentioned yesterday, is from concept to reality by doing. We have here also the link in the section G that you can see here, the link with the operating expected number of trains that is supposed to be operated under these pioneer DAC trains. Okay, it's also key that a fulfillment of few preconditions are key before this can happen, meaning that the single European DAC system is available, the technology is proven, and of course linked with the operational functionalities that this DAC will deliver. So this has to be, of course, linked with an efficient and suitable authorization. You can also see here the links with the agency and the system pillar, and of course sustained later on with the sound migration plan. All these activities are somehow embedded in these activities that we have in the EDDP. And in the next slide, you can see the set of projects and activities that already since Shift Rail we have been performing in order to make this possible. As you can see here, FP5 is the key project by involving this development of the technical solution. But then we have, of course, the core that which main objectives are to align the DAC implementation for the rail freight, creating this deployment roadmaps and facilitating or at least opening up the discussions on how these activities on possible funding mechanisms and could be deployed in the future. And you can see here the last two ones, DACFIT, as a result of the call 2023, will be also focusing on this, ensuring this smooth transition for later on having migration strategies that are sound, and an upcoming project that is also part of the FP5 activities that will be also supporting on the testing activities for FP5. All that will, of course, take a role in these activities that later on, as you can see in the next slide, will be linked to the pioneer DAC trains. As also mentioned yesterday and this morning, the activities of FP5 transformer will be finishing by the end of 2026, but sometime before, the preparation for these pioneer DAC trains is already in place, so these activities can reach the full deployment of the action by the timeline you can see here. We have also briefly mentioned, based on the activities from FP5 related to the technical development and the completion of these activities, to have this ramp-up phase for the demonstrators with the activities in the next slide on the DAC train. So we will need this continued planning and retrofitting or continued feedback from FP5 on how the activities are going. So these preparations are secure for these pioneer doctrines to be in place. We have also, as part of these activities, been actively involved in the definition of the CEF text that includes these activities within the call that is at the moment published. So this is also something that is very interesting for you, because based on this call where these activities are reflected, consortia are now open to submit their proposals and then being able to contribute to this wider deployment of DAC in relation to these pioneer trains that are expected to be operating after the call is finalized and resolved when the activities are ongoing. Again, here a bit of a summary of all the activities involved in these activities in which the European DAC delivery program is engaging with. Mentioning here, after the pioneer DAC trains, the migration strategy and the migration strategies that will be deployed and prepared to have the full DAC deployment ready. And of course, as you can also see, there are LCC and CBA and business cases being included. So these updates include the updates of the activities going on. In terms of funding instruments and policies, we have been also seeing the possibilities that might be put in place, and in that sense, the Commission works towards this next budget will be still under discussion. So in that sense, possibility to have these activities being financed is still not clear, but I mean, we'll have to keep on working on those activities. Just to finalize, and as a conclusion, together with the activities performed within FP5, in InnoTrans, if you had the chance to be there, we were able to have a specific corner on DAC. We were showing there how the different suppliers involved in the project and in the activities to have this solution, this standardized solution ready, were showcasing the different commercial, let's say, products that might be and that are already being tested within the activities of the project. We had also DAC innovation tools where all the activities of the projects were explained, as well as the event that I was mentioning before briefly this morning on the DAC train test lab in Spandau, where all these activities were showcased in real life. Again, very important, also the collaboration with the European Railway Agency and the NSAs on the state of play of authorization. There is a current and a very open also forum where all these topics are being discussed. The agency is really giving a very good hand on providing guidelines on how these authorization activities could be eased, or at least make them easier for all the authorization processes that will have to be carried out once the solution is stable and mature enough. And then you can see also here with the topics we are working together with the agency in fulfilling those actions, and of course in capturing within the TSIs all these adaptations that the subsystems on that will have to be compliant with. This is a bit in a nutshell what the EDDP is currently pushing and helping us to develop within the activities of freight. And any questions you may have, please feel free to get back to us. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Javier. Thank you very much, Carol, for this comprehensive overview. As you have understood, we are also preparing the scene for the next steps after the research and innovation. In a way, we are innovating also with this because we're approaching it at European Union level. So I don't know, Kodruta, if there are questions online.
No questions online. Just
no
yet.
questions online. Here on the floor, one. Please, the floor is yours, Manuel.
Thank you, Javier, for presenting the EDP. My question goes a bit in the direction of Giorgio. Now, with the establishment of the high-level deployment group, how do you foresee the interaction with the program going forward?
Should I reply? Okay. So, well, the interaction with the program going forward is going to be depending also on the output of the first results. If we're speaking of the DAC, of the pioneering train, I am suspecting that a few elements will still need to be fine-tuned. And for this, we need to have research and innovation activities. But then in terms of deployment activities per se, it will also depend, as Javier mentioned, on our possibilities to look into a plan of implementation accompanied by the right financial measures. And also it will be an open discussion with all the sector to better understand which are the, let's say, most efficient instruments to go into an implementation that touch different countries around Europe. And this implementation needs for sure to be coordinated. Now the question will be, will this joint undertaking take over this role, or will be a new joint undertaking, a new setup, a new partnership? At the moment, all is open, and I think it's also a good point of reflection for the sector stakeholders. Yes, Miros.
I have a question regarding the vehicle authorization process on DAC. For the 100 testing trains, it will be a specific authorization established by or created by ERA and national safety authorities, or it will be in the perspective of the full deployment of the DAC, the specification for this new process of authorization.
Javier.
Should I take this one, Javier? We are now in close contact as one of the working streams of EDDP together with the agency, but also with the NSAs, how we can deal with this process in first instance for the pioneering trains. So as you have seen, we foresee to start these pioneering trains end of 2026 and 2027, and we agreed with the ERA and NSAs to have a process in place which accompany this. And of course, this will be also depending on the outcome of the CEF call, where more information will be supplied on the number of countries, number of wagons, locomotives, etc.
Yeah, yes, that's fully correct. But my final question is how this will be the process finalized by voting at risk, or it's some exception from the regulatory framework, because this is quite important when the expectation for the testing is 2026, 2027. According to my experience with the process at risk, it would be difficult to reach the deadlines if the process will be a standardized process.
Maybe I take this one. So for the moment being, as Carol mentioned, we're looking into it. So it will depend on the say process that will be finally selected. From the first analysis that the European Union agency did, it will not require a very special process to go through a risk committee. But let's see. I mean, obviously, if it is the case, this will need to be planned together with the European Commission, which is responsible of at the end putting forward proposal to the member states, and this I think we're fully aligned. Okay, Kodruta, there is a question. Yes.
Indeed. So how is Channel Tunnel operation between France and the UK being considered?
it's not a topic yet considered in the deployment group. As you have seen, we started with FRMCS, and the group is open for new topics next year. So I will take this back to the deployment group. And maybe one addition to your remark, Giorgio, there are many upcoming big transitions in the next year. So we discussed FRMCS, we discussed DAC, we did discuss ETCS, and I think they will all take place in the next maybe 10, 15 years. Coordination between these programs, how to deal with this in workshop, in contractors, with subcontractors, will also be part of considerations in the high-level deployment group. So it's not specific on one topic, but also the coordination in deployment between different major transition programs.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't see any more questions. So what I suggest is to move to our next and the last important part. So our next session is all about engagement opportunity within the Europe's rail activities. And I am happy also to hand over the floor to Katrin Cesko, which is our Chief Stakeholder Relation and Dissemination Officer, followed by Zanda Litvina and Eleni Selipa, which are also working on all our communication activities.
Thank you, Giorgio. So thank you for very good timekeeping as well. So I think we'll manage to finish more or less on time, and we're going to keep this as lively as possible after this rich presentation this morning. So we've heard about the structure, achievements so far, and the goals of Europe's rail this morning. I will now present to you an overview of engagement opportunities with EU Rail. Then, as Giorgio said, hand over to Zanda and Eleni, who will navigate us live through our website and our catalog of solutions. So there are different opportunities for collaboration indeed. EU Rail frequently issues call for tenders and proposals to attract innovation in high priority areas such as digitalization and sustainability, amongst other. Who is our target? EU Rail encourages partnerships with research institutions, technology providers, rail operators. These calls not only contribute of course, to rail research and innovation, but also is a good gateway for SMEs, for instance, and startups to enter the rail sector. We've seen this is quite a priority for the next Commission, indeed. There's also a possibility to contribute to EU Rail's project advisory groups. We don't have a call for the moment for participation, but keep in mind that there is a way to participate there, and you will see where at a later stage. We also regularly organize info days on our calls and matchmaking events. So if you want to join, just be aware that you will be allowed to meet potential partners and form consortia during B2Match events at our info days. All this information is always publicly available on our website and advertised on our social media channels. So, you know, we're quite active on social media for those who follow us already, and all this information is available there. We can also encourage you to, or at least be informed on engagement with the system pillar, how it works. The system pillar, as we said, is a place where the system interfaces and the harmonized operation of tomorrow are designed. How to engage in the system pillar. You cannot participate as such or register directly. But of course, all EU representative bodies, so the sector associations, are part of the system pillar steering group. We've heard from the system pillar steering groups participants. Therefore, rail actors are therefore represented through their associations in this group. The EDDP is the group where Europe's rail freight-related DAC projects is implemented. The EDDP is open for participation through sounding boards at operational procedures level and technology, or also as a voluntary contribution in 4 different working groups. All this information is also available on our website, and Zanda will navigate us through this. as well. For the deployment group, which is where the sector is able to agree on recommendations on how to migrate into an upgraded performant European rail system, we've heard from the development group. How to participate, as we've heard from Carol, we're waiting for a formal launch of the group, and the call will be open as soon as on our website as soon as this process is finished. Europe's Rail regularly organizes workshops, webinars, and stakeholders meetings, offering networking opportunities within industry experts and policymakers. So all our events are also advertised on our website, and we regularly call upon our stakeholders to intervene in panels and conferences involving Europe's Rail, or organized by Europe's Rail. So when you join our community, be sure that you will be exposed and that we'll ask for your contribution. We're very grateful to all our partners who do so on a regular basis. Europe Rail also offers a range of resources, including annual work plans, multi-annual work programs, and technical reports, such as our catalogue of solutions on rail research, and our base document is called the Europe's Rail Master Plan, all published on our website and available for consultation. You can also consult the Europe's Rail Stakeholder Relations Dissemination and Communication Strategy, which is valid from 2022 to 27. And there have all the strategic directions that we are following for communication and other activities related. These documents provide an insight into our ongoing projects, funding allocations, and EU regulatory frameworks essential for planning, project proposals, or understanding compliance requirements. In a nutshell, working with Europe's Rail provides a unique chance to influence and benefit from Europe's evolving railway landscape. So don't miss this opportunity to join our community, especially for those who are not already in the community and who have joined today. I think we're still quite a large number online, so this we're happy to see that we've generated interest in the rail research and innovation and Europe's Rail, which indeed will play a key role, I'm sure, in the future, answering to the Commission's priorities. So I thank you for your attention, and will now leave the floor to Zanda first, who will present more in detail our website, and then to Eleni for our dissemination publication, the catalogue of solutions. Thanks a lot. And Zanda, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Catherine, and good morning, everyone. I hope you can hear me well. Just for your information, we have a slide available as well on the different sections describing a little bit the website, but I think it will be probably more beneficial and more interactive for me to share my screen and to showcase to you the different sections that we have available on the website. So I will just quickly take over the share screen right now. Okay. And now all of you should be able to see the website. For your information, in case you have not noticed, we have just recently revamped our website. So we have completely changed our look and feel to make sure that it is fully in line with our visual identity guidelines of Europe's Rail Joint Undertaking. And why we did this revamp is to ensure that we have a user-centric approach and that we put our stakeholders first. We listened to your feedback in terms of what you wanted us to improve on the website, and we have come up with a solution which we think that works, and it gives you access to all the main information and to all the key resources developed within the Europe's Rail Joint Undertaking. So firstly, in case you would like to find out more information about who we are and what we do, there is a very interesting section on the website. So if you go here on the navigation and you click on who we are, you will be able to have a full overview of what the Europe's Rail Joint Undertaking is. So this includes all the high-level objectives, the mission, and so on. And you also have access to the structure and the governance of the Europe's Rail Joint Undertaking. And this includes also, of course, the governing board. And if you click here on the governing board, you will also be able to access all the different governing board decisions that have been adopted. So these you can, for instance, find here in case you're interested in that. And you can also find a list of the different governing board members here on this page. If you would like to access our reference documents, so Catherine in her presentation mentioned that we have a lot of different documents that are also important when you're preparing your calls for your proposals for the different calls that we have launched. This is, of course, one of the sections that you should visit and you should have a look at. For instance, we have available the annual work plans, which will be essential for your applications. So make sure you take note and you know where to find all of this information. Okay, so in case you would like to find out more information in detail about the Europe's Rail program and the specific 3 pillars that we have been discussing extensively over the past 2 days, you click here on our R&I program, where you will have an overview of the innovation pillar, of the system pillar, including as well the governance and the key documents and key outputs, and as well the deployment group. For your information, under the deployment group, we also have access to the European DAC delivery program. And this is also the place where you can subscribe to the different working groups and to the different sounding boards. So if you go here on this page and if you scroll down, you will be able to see here that there is an application form, and there are also specific guidelines that you can follow to make sure that you apply and express your interest correctly. One more point that I wanted to mention about this section is that the system pillar page is at the moment undergoing a significant transformation. So in the next weeks, you will see that we have new pages and new information added, and also access to the different deliverables and outputs will be made much more seamless. There is also a possibility to access all the previous Shift to Rail resources in case you're interested. So have a look, it's all available there. Okay. Then one more point that I wanted to cover is, of course, the different calls. So we have here a tab that's specifically called calls. And here you can access all the information about the calls for proposals, about the calls for tenders, and any additional relevant information. At the moment, you will see that we do not have a call that is open. But once a call is open, you will see that there will be a new section added here. But at the same time, if you're interested, you can find access to the information about the previous calls, and also you can already familiarize yourself with the different legal and financial considerations that you need to take into account when you apply for our calls. In case you would like to see what have been the previous topics in the different calls that we have launched, you can also click here, and then you will be brought directly to the EU Funding and Tenders portal, where you can see the different topics and the detailed information about these topics. Okay, and then under the calls, there is also the possibility, of course, to participate in our call for tenders. So we have an extensive list over here, which is updated on a regular basis. You can click there and you will see the different tenders that are currently available for consultation. Okay. So this is that. And in case you would also like to access previous tenders, you can find this information in the tender archives. And then finally, before I pass on to my colleague Eleni, what I also wanted to show you is really the section that is dedicated to corporate news and to corporate events, because this is the place where you will really have the access to all the latest information that we are putting out to the general public. So you will see here that we have a tab that is specifically called News and Events, where you have the different sections. In the news, you will find, for instance, press releases. You will find information about, let's say, some technology that has been developed in the different projects. You will also see a more let's say, light-hearted news, for instance, on different initiatives that we are taking place. So this is quite interesting in case you would like to explore that. What is also important is to subscribe to our newsletter. In our newsletter, which we publish on a monthly basis, you will find all the different news about the projects, about the system pillar, and also the corporate news. And there is a possibility to subscribe. I think that a lot of you are at the moment visiting our website because it is becoming a little bit slow. So I will not go through all of the sections, but I can show to you underneath that here you have the possibility to subscribe to our newsletter. So in case you haven't done so, please do it. Please subscribe and you will receive all the different news and notifications, newsletters, press releases, and also mail shots from our side. And the last part, of course, is the different events. It looks like I will not be able to go inside the events section for the moment, but you will see there that there is an event calendar. You can click on the different parts in the different months, and you can access the events that we will be organizing and also events that have been organized in past. And there you also have information about, for instance, what we have done in events. Like if you would like to know about what was achieved during InnoTrans 2024, you have the ability to scroll to the September month and to access this information. And this is it from my side. I hope that you found this interesting and you will now be more informed on where to find the different information about Europe's Rail. And I pass on the floor to my colleague Eleni. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Zanda. And I will also share my screen right now, same as Zanda, to go through some of the different sections of our website, including our project section and our catalog of solutions. So here I'm sharing the screen. Hopefully you will be able to see, and hopefully I will also be able to scroll through without any problem, as I understand a lot of you are eager to learn more about us. The first thing is, as you heard today, we have many different projects running. You had the presentation, a comprehensive presentation from our senior program managers about the different flagship projects and exploratory research projects. So if you want to learn more, here is the landing page. Pretty easily, you can find this information on the projects and solutions. So by clicking here and going on the See Projects page, you will be able to see all of the Europe's Rail projects listed. If I'm able to enter, you will see in the page that firstly we have listed all of our different flagship projects with information on exactly the topic, the period that each project will be running, as well as the project's value. Clicking on each page separately, maybe this will be easier way to navigate. You can see on the different flagship projects, for example, a specific page listing all of their latest outputs, all of their latest news, events. So a good way to learn more about each project, but as well as what they're exactly doing. Just a quick note. On this page, we are still in the process of finalizing the revamp of our website, and this is one of the last sections that will be updated. So look out a bit for this update. You will have a more clean version of all of the listed projects and a new project space for each of our flagship projects. You will see also under here, under other projects, all of the different exploratory research, each of them with their own websites and their own set of deliverables that you can explore just by visiting this page. Another point under this page that I would like to point out is this here called Technical Enablers. This gives you a better overview of the different technical enablers per flagship area. So if you're interested in something more specific and something more technical, this is where you go and visit and find out all of the different deliverables that have been published. And then back here, and if I'm able to go
under projects again, you will also see here a section on the Shift to Rail projects. If you're aware with the program, you will know that Europe's Rail is the successor of Shift to Rail. So a website is still active so that you can explore all of the closed projects that have been finalized under Shift to Rail, a very long list. And also similarly to Europe's Rail, you also have a tech demo view. If you're looking for something more specific about each innovation program, this is where you come and find it. This on the project space, so then I will maybe go straight into the solution space and I will not keep you for too long. So in Europe's Rail, what we have done is we managed to collect a lot of solutions that have been developed under the Shift to Rail program, and decided that the best way to present it is with an interactive platform to allow you to also explore the different solutions, the different R&I solutions that are shaping the future of railways in a clear way. With specific search functions available. So in more detail, these solutions gives you 21 at the moment different clusters. Under each cluster, you are able to find different solutions. First, maybe a quick demonstrations of how you can navigate this. Let's say you are interested in the TCMS. What you can do is simply search, and then you're just directly landing into the TCMS cluster, where if you click inside, you will be able to find out more about exactly the challenge that faces the train control monitoring system, how the Shift to Rail program and now the Europe's Rail program is dealing with this challenge. There's an overview of the different technologies and different solutions, and an important part is an overview of also who exactly benefits from these different solutions out of the groups that are railway operators, infrastructure managers, suppliers, but also end users. You will also have an overview of the different benefits of each technology and of each cluster. And under each clustered solution, you will also have the opportunity to directly download a fact sheet with a summary of all of this information. This can be used also as printed material if you wish to present. It has different details on each technology, but if you're looking also for a more comprehensive and more detailed view, we also prepared and published articles on each cluster and different solutions that have a lot more details about what each thing is that was developed is doing, the key outcomes. You will see the different demonstrators, the different benefits, and of course, who is directly benefiting from this. If you go again under the solutions landing page, what you will be able to do is also search via who benefits. So what we have managed to do is now with this search function also directly linked to the different stakeholder groups. So if you're an infrastructure manager, for example, if you're interested to know what the infrastructure managers are benefiting from the Shift to Rail program, you click here and directly have all of the clustered solutions that are directly linked to the infrastructure managers. Each page is the same in terms of how you land, and then you have an article and a fact sheet. And then the last point would be if you're interested on technologies with a different maturity levels, different technology readiness levels. For example, you can click on technology level 5. You see all of the clusters that have solutions that have reached TRL 5. For example, this satellite positioning set, you see again information on the challenges, on the different solutions that were developed, key findings for each, and so on. Fact sheets, articles. I think this is a really good view of what you can find out through the website. I encourage every one of you to join not just the website, but really the catalog of solutions and explore it in detail. There's many things to learn, and we publish all of this also on our social media on a regular basis. But really go into it and have a look. And thank you for your attention. I think that's it from me.
Thank you, Eleni. Thank you, Zanda. Thank you, Catherine, for this insightful overview of how to get the material. To conclude, I see there is no more questions. Thanks again also for your patience. We're slightly delayed, but I would like just to conclude and wishing you a good continuation, good day. And I hope that what we were able to provide to you not only provided a good insight of the activities that Europe's Rail is doing, but especially it's helpful for your businesses, it's helpful for your interest, and also motivate you to continue to collaborate with us or to start to collaborate with us to design a successful future of the rail system. Thanks a lot and have a nice weekend as well.